Hello and welcome. I am Noodle and you're on my newly rebranded channel where we always encourage you to use your noodle. And today I'm going to be taking you through how to analyse political speeches. Expect strong language because it's me, and anyone who knows me should know that by now. And you'll probably see me smoking during the stream as well. So if that's an issue for you, feel free to turn the screen off there. Thank you to everyone who's appeared in the chat. There seem to be a few of you. I know Ring dropped in earlier and will be catching up with us later. Thank you, Ricardo and Lone Wanderer, and Jeff, Godless Scummer, is in there as well. So thank you for dropping by. And I see Dave has just popped up as well. So thank you for coming as also Critical Cripple. I'm using the speeches that are around the attack on the Capitol Hill last week in America. The reason I'm doing that is because unless you've been living under a rock, you know the context of them, and knowing the context of a speech is everything. You know the timing of the speeches and the other things, and they matter particularly in these ones. Disclaimer, yes, I am a historian. However, I graduated my history degree over 5 years ago. I've done other things since, but I am a little bit rusty at this. So a lot of this is just going to be me pointing at things that I recognise. I'm taking you through it in a very organic way. I'm doing this live for a reason. Essentially, what we're going to do tonight is the first step a history undergraduate, politics undergraduate, someone like that would take if they were told that they had to assess or analyse these essays, these speeches for an essay. See, there's your first blooper of the day. So that's what we're going to go through. And the reason we're going to do it that way is to keep it nice and broad so we can look at all the different aspects of it. This is not going to be a purely historical thing. It's not going to be a purely political thing. I'm going to be drawing from lots of different ideas. I'm going to be doing a lot of live Google searching that I'm going to take you along with to show you how you can find sources to verify things, and different analysis, and how you can learn very quickly using the internet as you're going. And you'll see that as we go on what I mean. I have read through all these speeches at least once. I think we all have. If you haven't, there are links in the description. If you click on the one that says, I think it says something like PDF of the speeches. If you click on that, that will take you to my Google Drive. And that PDF document is the same one I'm going to be using in this stream if you want to follow along. I've got the PDF document open in another screen that I'm going to take you to so I can write over it and things. That's how we're going to be doing this. I've also got open basically a blank page that I can write on and draw on so I can take notes as we go, because again, that's how I did it when I was an undergrad. That's how I did it as when I was studying for my master's as well. So basically this is my methodology. This is how I do it. I'm not saying it's the right way. I'm not saying it's the only way. I'm saying this is how I do it, and I do most of the things that most teachers will tell you to do. I may do them in a different way to other people, but this is just a way of getting all this out there. You will get my political opinions as we go along as well. If you don't know already, I absolutely despise Trump and his cronies. So if you're here thinking that I'm going to somehow magically pull a defense out of thin air for this guy, only if it's in the text, and from what I gather from reading it, I don't think it is. So don't get your hopes up. I know a few of you in my chat I have given blue wrenches to. I very much would appreciate it if you would just keep an eye on it, because I don't know who's going to pop up. Obviously, I have been advertising this on Twitter for the last couple of days as well. So that's all the introduction stuff, and we're going to crack right on. Now, first thing I want to do is show you this. This is what that PDF looks like, all the pages, the 2 blank pages at the end, just ignore. But there are 52 pages worth of speech here, so we're going to be here a while. I'll try and keep it as brief as possible and not repeat myself. But at least, well, yes, at least 47 pages, 47 and a few lines, are that first speech that he made at the rally before the attack on the Capitol Hill. That's the speech that's going to form most, if not all, of the argument for the prosecution when they come to hold his trial in the Senate. And that's what we're going to be focusing on largely, because look at it. There's no way I can have 3 speeches and not spend the majority of time looking at the one that's 40 odd pages long when the other ones are 4 pages in total. That's just how this is going to work. What do you want from me? So yeah, this is what we're going to start with. Now, I just yanked these transcripts off of Google. If you Google the name of a speech or the name of a person, a location, sometimes a date helps, and the word speech followed by the word transcript, you can get a transcript for pretty much any speech that's ever been delivered in the public domain. You'll find them on news sites. You'll sometimes find them on, sometimes there are archives of certain speeches. They're very easy to find. These I mostly pulled off news sites because they're so new, they haven't really hit archives yet. So that's where we're going to go. Well, we will see, Nerdy, whether I've read this speech, so I know my opinion on it. But yeah, there's not going to be much in this video for anyone who's trying to defend him. Let's put it that way. So off we go. Now, I am using a drawboard PDF because I want to be able to write on these things as we go, because that's how we're going to do it. And we're on page 1. So let's see here. I'm going to change my pen color so you can actually tell what I'm doing. And because it's me, it's going to be green, because when isn't it? It's always green when it's me. Okay, so this speech, 1st of January, January the 6th, and this is before the attack. That's important. That immediately tells you that anything you think you know about what happened afterwards, you cannot read the speech in light of that initially. And I say initially because there is no way we can get through this speech without mentioning what it led to. You know, there will be, I will put money on it, there'll be teachers somewhere who will one day set an essay assignment as, you know, students, did this speech cause the attack on the Capitol, yay or nay? And if it did, you know, make your argument using evidence from the speech. I'm not a lawyer, and as it's an open case, I'm probably going to end up taking it down that route, but I'm not going to sit here and claim to know everything about American law, because I only did 1 module on American legal systems in my undergrad, and yeah, it was a module, you know, it's not going to be a big thing. But this is more about looking at how to look at speeches in general. So we're going to start here. We know that he spoke in Ellipse, a park near the White House. A lot of teachers, professors will ask you to look into the background of the speech. So students would be expected to know who Mr. Trump is. They would be expected to know if there was anything about Ellipse that was, you know, important in any way, shape or form. Quite clearly, where I pulled this from, decided that it was important. It was near the White House. The location was the most important thing. The idea that he spoke for more than an hour, again, a lot of students will go and listen to it as well as reading the speech to get an idea for things like the way it was said and how it was done. And we immediately, this news site I found has decided that this speech can be boiled down into the phrase, he was airing his grievances. So they are very clearly saying this is a persuasive speech. It's designed to be persuasive. It's designed to create a binary opposition between the speech maker and the election, the media, the Democrats, and more. So that's what they're saying is going on here. Now we get on to Trump himself, and nothing quite like engaging with the man in his own words. And as I said, anything I tell you about the way these speeches go, you can apply to pretty much any speech you hear. That's why I'm doing this as well. So you can take what I'm telling you now and apply it to speeches you're going to hear in future. And he's straight in on the offensive. Now, this, for me, this opening, not so much as a hello, not a how are you. He's on the attack. And he's not just on the attack because he's saying, going for the media straight away, which he clearly is, but he's saying they will not. Note this a lot, because what he's doing, he's already, in this first sentence, he's decided, he's telling the media what they will and won't do, despite the fact that he's going to spend most of the speech talking about how the media don't listen to him. He's trying to bait someone here. He's baiting the media. He thinks that if he says, oh, they won't show this crowd, the cameras are going to turn around and look. And you'll see this as we go through this first paragraph. He really belabors the point. So this is something he really wants them to do. He wants the cameras to turn around and look at the crowd. Or at least he wants the crowd to think that's what he wants the cameras to do. And the thing with this is the rhetorical devices used are very, well, what can I say? They're all, I don't want to, I tried to keep this professional, but sorry, folks, first line in, and I've got to say it, this guy's talking so much bullshit. Lone Wanderer, I am going to take a moment and I'm going to put your comment on screen because you are absolutely right. If American schools taught critical thinking, this riot insurrection never would have occurred. The country's full of sheep. I can't 100% say only the immigrants are sane because they did choose to go to America, excluding the ones who voted for Trump. I'm sorry, if you chose to go to America while Trump was president, I can't account for your sanity there. Sorry. That's my opinion on that one. So this first sentence, all well and good. What I'm doing is I've got another note page open and I am keeping track of a few things. So what I'm going to keep track of is how many times he says the media will do something. That's not the media might do this. That's specific. He's saying he knows what the media are going to do. Okay. And then he says, even I. This one's important as well. So we're going to highlight this. I'm going to do it in a different color just for your viewing pleasure. Even I. How do you feel when you hear someone say, even I? Even I was surprised. Even I wasn't quite sure. Even I. As if he's saying, I knew, but even I couldn't have known this. He's creating this us versus them dichotomy of when I turned on today, I looked and I saw thousands of people here, but you don't see hundreds of thousands of people. He's immediately calling back to this. He's calling the media liars before he's even given them the chance to do anything but what he said. This speech will have been going on for seconds at this point. What chance have they had to even show the crowd? That's what he's getting at. They don't want to show you that. He's giving them motive before he even starts. And this entire point is that when he does that, it doesn't matter what the media do now. Because if they show the crowd, oh, they're only doing it because he said they wouldn't. And if they don't show the crowd, look, he was right. And when you challenge a group like that in a speech, that's what you're setting them up for. He's setting them up so he's got an argument against them regardless of anything else. And this is how he's chosen to open this speech. And this matters because he's decided the most important thing is the size of the crowd. Now, the most important thing did turn out to be the size of the crowd because those are the people who went down and stormed the Capitol. But that's not what he's getting at here. He's trying to make the people listening to him actually believe there are enough of them. Okay, he's trying to, it's all about boosting morale. And it's boosting the morale of the people who are listening to him and want to listen to him. Yeah, we have hundreds of thousands of people here. I sincerely doubt that. I couldn't find a source as such that showed that, but let me just change my screen share a second, because what I'm going to show you now is how we go about new tab. Okay, so I'm in Google now, nice and easy. Trump elite speech audience. You see even straight away that the transcript for this speech comes up. You can see where I've clicked through a few before. This one claims to have photos, so let's have a look. And this is how easy it is, where you can start fact checking things people are saying. These are photos obviously from later on in the day, but even still, looking at these photos, it might be that's not hundreds of thousands of people. It's just not. And I mean, fair due, that's the speech he's giving when he stood there, but that's still not hundreds of thousands of people. That's a very close cropped photograph. How far out does the crowd go on either side? And I do like, quite clearly, this channel, NBC Washington, have decided that they're going to go along with and show this crowd. Now, yeah, it's a fair number. I'm not going to argue that one. But all of these are very close cropped images. People have got room to move. You know, that crowd, look, you can see the grass there around it. You can see where there's gaps in the crowd. They are not half as round as they think they are. Okay, so whoever's counting his people, look, even here, you can see it. Plenty of space for people to stand, plenty of space to wave flags. You know, this is not a packed house. You know, Martin Luther King ain't coming to the stand to make this speech. And you can tell that yourself. You don't need someone to tell you what the official numbers were there. This speech, they applied for a permit for 10,000 people. They may have broken that, but I don't think they got anywhere near 100,000. And that's what they're... So here's line number 1. This is how he gives himself gravitas. This is how he justifies this speech. If hundreds of thousands of people want to hear from him, he must have something worth hearing. He must be telling the truth. It's this mob mentality. And again, as soon as he's there with his mob mentality, these people here, I want them to be recognized by the fake news media. His people, he wants them to be recognized. And in an individualistic society like America, you know, bootstrap economies and all the rest of it, the idea of being recognized, it's not just to be recognized. He wants them to be recognized by the fake news media. The implication here is he recognizes them. He knows them. He appreciates them. He's already getting this group on side. And again, now this, I'm just going to, okay. This, he turns on the news media directly. A different color again, because colors. Okay. Or not, because it did this bit. Okay. He's now speaking directly to the news media, and he's doing it deliberately. He's following up on this insinuation he made here. Notice how he hasn't named any particular news source, any particular place, because he doesn't have to. When he insinuates, he can't be proven wrong. And again, will you turn the cameras, please, and show what's really happening? It's this fake, these fake manners, this fake pretense of politeness. Because if he's being polite, why won't they? Knowing full well they're not going to take the cameras off him because he's making the speech. It's, you know, that's his job. That's what's going on here. But why do this? Okay, go ahead, turn your cameras. It's the same way you talk to, you know, someone you're asking, and he's doing it deliberately. trying to make out like the media are the ones in control of all of this, and he's not. He's giving the insinuation that he's pleading. And when he's pleading, that's because he's not in control and his people get offended at that. That's what's going on there. And would you show this? These rhetorical questions crop up a lot in Trump's speeches, and they will crop up later on. He does like his rhetorical questions and his rhetorical comments. And it's always asking someone else to do it. Spoiler alert, he spends a lot of time telling Mike Pence to do things in this speech. And we'll get to that, because I'm going to, actually, as we go along, I'm going to keep a tally of how many times he mentions Mike Pence, because that's interesting. Keep an eye out for that. And this is saying they came from all over the world. Actually, they came from all over our country. He's trying, he's placing himself in the position of, he's pleading with the media to tell the truth. He's taking the moral high ground, knowing full well that the media hasn't got the chance to respond at the start of this speech. Because if a journalist suddenly cuts in to respond here, they'll be accused of silencing the rest of his speech. And if they don't, he gets to say what he wants to say. Yeah? And he says, I just really want to see what they do. No, mate, you don't. You know exactly what they're going to do. They're going to play right into your hands, because if they don't, you know, they've got no way of winning here. That's what's going on. I want to see how they covered. I've never seen anything like it. Trump likes this one a lot. He likes to buoy up his supporters by saying, I've never seen anything like it. This is something amazing. This is, you know, that's how they do it. And he's very, again, he's speaking, every person in this crowd is going to hear him speaking to them individually at this point. I've never seen anything like it, and you're part of that. You're part of something amazing. It's tying into that American exceptionalism, that American nationalism that says, you know, if I pull myself up by my bootstraps, I can do this. I am part of something bigger. And it's all the same kind of rhetoric you see from nationalists, from people trying to call on patriotic language. You know, it's your country needs you. And then when you've got them in the lines ready to volunteer, I've never seen anything like this. Look at this. It's amazing. And it's feeding into that narrative constantly. And he says, but it would be really great if we could be covered fairly by the media. And again, this is amazing, but no one's going to see it. And he goes on, the media is the biggest problem. Now, this is his first triad of the speech. And it's a doozy, is this one. He likes this one. I'm going to highlight this one in red. This is the media. Hang on. Sorry. This is where technology gets the better of me. Okay, so he's got his unholy trinity here. He's got his media, his fake news, and his big tech. Trinities are great in speeches. You remember them. You remember things when you're told in triplicate or when they're a list of 3. It's just the way the human mind works. We like the number 3. We just do. And that's what he's coming into. And then he decides he's going to take them on one at a time. So big tech is coming into their own. Now, given what happened later on in the day and what he was being threatened with at that point, the fact that he was, at this point, he was still on Twitter, but he was facing suspensions. He's been, for weeks and weeks, we've seen it every time he tweets. Twitter's telling us, you know, official sources called this election differently. That's what this is a link to here. Yeah, this is what he's getting at here. Official sources called this election differently. And, you know, as a student, if you were reading this for an essay, I would expect you to go and find those tweets as well. And I would expect you would use them to understand what this is about, because these speeches are very good where it comes for insinuations. Now, I am not going to say that Trump is a good person, but whoever writes his speeches for him, or whoever gives him his list of things to say, is very, very good, because these are very common rhetorical devices. And again, just to give you an example here, watch this. Persuasive speeches. How to make a persuasive speech 101. And I'm going to take you to the Chrome tab just to give you an idea. What are the 5 persuasive techniques? Adjective. Well, already in this speech, let's see, adjective. And I'll keep referring back to those 5 because they're right there. Immediately, you've got your giant crowd, you've got your fake news, and your big tech. There's your first bit. Then you've got your alliteration. His alliteration comes in later, but he likes it. His anecdotes. He loves his anecdotes, does Trump? We'll come back to those. His cliches. I've already started on the patriotism angle that he's gone with. His emotive words and his other issues here. Now, any one of these links you can click on. How to write a speech, tips for persuasive speech making. You can... He's making this speech as if he is running for president again. He's trying to persuade someone. The thing is, the only people who are going to take this guy seriously are the people who are already persuaded. And the people who aren't, okay, are just going to look at this and they're going to spot it a mile away. Hopefully you are, because I'm going to show you how. That's what I'm doing. So that's where we're at. Now, here we go, straight away with his anecdotes and with his history. He's calling on past victories to validate his commentary now. And let's go for this. Okay. Yeah, why not? Yeah, we beat them 4 years ago. We surprised them. We took them by surprise this year and they rigged an election. Okay, there's a couple of things on this I want to talk about. This sudden inclusive we. He likes this. He likes it a lot. So far, it's been him versus the media and him welcoming his people. Okay, and then suddenly he's gone from I've never seen anything like the support I'm getting here to we. So suddenly this group who he's never seen anything like, he's a we with them. We're all in this together. This is us now, us and them. There is us who've never seen anything like this and would really want to see what the media can do and, you know, want to be recognized by the news media. And then there's the news media on the other side. So everything he's said, where he's referred to himself so far, he's immediately pulling in the people who are listening, his supporters, to say, look, this is us. This is an us problem now. I've spoken, but I'm speaking for the crowd here, is what he's saying. Yeah, the media, as far as I'm concerned, is the single biggest problem, but we beat them. This is how he does it. He draws you in, okay? Then you've got your we, and then you've got your they. They've never rigged it like they've rigged an election before. Yeah? This is how they do it. This is how Trump does it. He's already creating his binary. And that binary is going to continue throughout this speech, this us versus them rhetoric. And it's going to become more and more specific and more pointed about who we are and who they are in the context of this. And then this comment he makes here, again, very clever. This immediately, he's creating a nice little bit of intimacy with his crowd here. By the way, they didn't do a bad job either, if you notice. People love being told that they're clever. People love it. They adore it. So if I say to you, did you notice that? I noticed that. I bet you noticed that. If I assume you noticed something, and I'm not then telling you something, I'm inviting you to join in on the joke. We're sharing the joke now. This is us. This is not them. They don't get this joke. They didn't notice. We did. That's what's going on here. This is that creation of intimacy. Again, he's building on that, changing the pronouns from the I to the plural we is what he's doing here. And it is a very clever rhetorical technique, because it immediately, it's going to pull your audience in, and they're going to say, oh, this guy's talking to me. I want to hear what he's got to say. I want to hear more. Yeah. And then he says, I'm honest. I'm honest, he says. He doesn't tell us what he's honest about, just I'm honest. It's just dropped in there. It's almost a throwaway comment, except nothing is throwaway. He's setting you up, because he's about to go into a long spiel about all of his, everything he wants you to believe, but he's told you he's honest. So you don't have to question this. Just take it. I'm honest. I'll always be honest with you. You know, they didn't do a bad job either. They rigged it. They've never rigged an election before. But me, I'm honest. You see this binary opposition he creates, and he does it in the same sentence, and it's done deliberately, because he's not cutting any corners. He's doing it as quickly as possible. He's creating that binary opposition we've seen him going for. And he says, I want to thank you. It's a great honor to have this kind of crowd, this same crowd that, you know, these hundreds of thousands from up here. Yeah, these hundreds of thousands here. And look, it's a great honor to have it. Hundreds of thousands again. You see the repetition? If you say something often enough, it becomes truth, no matter how big a lie it is. Especially in speeches. And then this, I want to comment on this specifically. He's decided now that these hundreds of thousands of people that he loves, that, you know, he's surprised they're there, are American patriots. They are American patriots. And ding, 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 we have a winner. This is your first dog whistle, folks. Okay? You're American patriots. Because what are American patriots in this context? Those words mean very little. All American patriot means is, yeah, you're American and you believe in your country. Okay? So, but American patriots are something very specific in this speech. They are committed to the honesty of our elections and the integrity of our glorious republic. You know, I'm going to take my glasses off for this one, because I'm about to just stop for a second, because this sentence right here, and I'm going to put it up on the screen now. I've drawn over it, because you need to see this. They are committed to, where are we? Committed to the honesty of our elections. If I could take this sentence here, and if I could pick one sentence so far out of the entire speech, the most important sentence, it's this one. Because this is, he's identified his audience, and now he's deciding, he's telling his audience who they are. That's what he's doing here. Okay, so hundreds of thousands of American patriots. So everyone there who he's just told there are hundreds of thousands of them, you are American patriots, but you're only an American patriot if you are committed to the honesty of our elections. Now, we all know that in Trump language, that means you think I should have a second term and that I should have won this election, because he's already talked about how the elections were rigged and faked up here. So if you don't believe the elections were rigged and faked, you're not committed to the honesty of elections. So you're not an American patriot, are you? That's how that works. And if you're not committed to the honesty of the elections, you're not committed to the integrity of our glorious republic. God bless America. Salute, whatever you want to say. I'm not American. That's what he's getting at. That is this patriotism, this jingoism. And if any student, if you ever come across this stream and you decide that you are writing an essay, or your professor has set you an essay on this speech, you need to find a way to put this quote in your speech somewhere and analyze it and tear it apart and explain why this speech is his manifesto for what us versus them is. Us is these people right here, these American patriots who are committed to this honesty of elections and the integrity. He's saying, exactly as Nerdy's just put in the chat. Are you a patriot? Well, are you? This is a challenge to anyone listening. If you aren't committed to the honesty of the elections, how dare you call yourself an American patriot? That's what's going on in this sentence, and I cannot hammer this point home enough. And then there's this expression here, this glorious republic, that sounds like it came out of a speech written by Mark Antony or Julius Caesar. This screams American exceptionalism. This screams a callback to the American habit of trying to make itself as Roman as possible, because Rome had this great, glorious empire. He's harking back. He's saying, look at us. We are the modern Roman Empire. We control the world. We can't do anything wrong. We have a wonderful democracy. Because clearly knows nothing about the Roman Republic, because it was a lot of things, but it weren't that. But that was the propaganda from then. And he's harking back on 2,000 years of propaganda with those words. That's what he's doing. And a lot of American history, you see this, America modeling itself on ancient Rome. And that's what he's harking back to there. And again, it's this jingoism, it's this patriotism. If you don't believe America is glorious, well, what does glorious mean? DC is the light. Is there anything America can do wrong if it's glorious? This is almost religious language. And that's the point. Being an American patriot is a religion. And what's the one thing you can't do if you follow a religion? At least in their minds? Question it. You don't question what you're told about America. And you don't question it because Trump told you. And if you don't listen to Trump, if you don't believe what Trump says, that the elections were rigged, then you can't possibly be an American patriot. If you don't believe in the integrity of our glorious republic, you're not an American patriot. You're the opposite. And what's the opposite of a patriot? A traitor. That's everything that's going on here. And I've stopped and looked at this for a long time because this sentence matters. Like, write this out. This alone, okay, this is the baseline for any argument you've got that Trump was trying to cause any kind of insurrection here, because this is where he's saying, just like ancient Rome, America has this habit. It needs to protect the integrity of the glorious republic. This becomes now a religious war. This becomes a war for the promised land. America, the great glorious promised land. That's what all this is harking back to. It's that language. And then straight away he's in. He's set you up. You're fighting for glorious America. And then immediately, all of us here today do not want to see our election victory stolen. Stolen. It was rigged. If you're not committed to the honesty of our elections, you're not an American patriot. Do you see how it all feeds into itself? This is what he's doing. And it's all of us here today. It's this hundreds of thousands, all of us. This emboldens them. This tells them you're not alone if you think that the Democrats have done something wrong. That's what he's doing here. And it's all It's as much in what he's not saying in what he is. And then he's got the nerve to say that the radical left Democrats were emboldened. I'm sorry, if you tell me anyone who is radical is being emboldened by something that puts me at risk, I'm going to panic. I'm going to freak out. I'm going to want to do something to stop them. That's what he's doing. He's just playing on emotions, and he does it a lot. He really plays on emotions, does Trump. He likes to do that. Okay. And then again, round it off again. How many times has he mentioned or used this phrase, fake news media? Let's go up and have a look. We've got one. And it's this phrase specifically. We'll call that 2 because it's fake news. And this is the 3rd time. And he's going to go on and he's going to use it a lot more. And these things, you're not meant to remember a 1-hour speech verbatim. You're not supposed to remember it. What you're supposed to remember are the buzzwords, the things that were repeated. It's supposed to give you a headache listening to this, trying to follow along with it. I know I got one. Because when you get a headache, when you get bored, when you get tired, you switch off and you stop caring about the details and you're just listening for buzzwords. And that's how he gets you. That's how you start to think that he's not lying. He didn't lie. And as Nerdy's put it here, yes, it's the bite model. Control the narrative. Everyone else is a liar. This is what he's done. It's us versus them. Us and our hundreds of thousands of people who are here right now versus everyone else. The media, the Democrats, everyone. Big tech, they're all in on it. They're in cahoots. And it's just us. But there's hundreds of thousands of us, and we are American patriots, and we will fight for our republic. Do you see how it all... you can't tell me that's not what this is insinuating, because that's exactly what it's insinuating. And some lawyer can probably argue against it, but I know what I'm reading. Yeah, that's what they've done, and that's what they're doing. Who's there? Who's there? Who is there? Radical left Democrats. Who are radical left Democrats? Who are the fake news media? He's yet to name anyone specifically. And he's doing this deliberately because when the enemy doesn't have a name, the enemy is everywhere. The minute you give the enemy a name, your crowd has a set target and the enemy loses their power. You know, look behind me. I'm a Harry Potter fan. He who shall not be named. If you don't say the name, it has power if you don't name them. And that's what's going on. And then straight away, you see, they've done and what they're doing, but we will never give up. We will never give up on our glorious republic, us American patriots. And he's all the same. He's just building it up. All he's doing is getting his crowd in the mood. He's barely even started. Okay? We will never concede. It doesn't happen because we are American patriots and we will fight for the integrity of our honest elections and our glorious republic. We will never give up. You don't concede. You don't concede. That's an instruction. That's an imperative. You don't concede where there's theft involved. It was stolen from us. This same emotive language. It's the principle of the thing he's saying. He's appealing to what is, by and large, a fairly commonly held principle amongst most people. If something was stolen from me, I have the right to claim it back. I have the right to seek some form of retribution or redress. That's what this is. And now, paragraph 3, so I'm going to change my pen colour so we don't start getting all confused because that's really scribbly. But not too much because, you know. So, and then opening this paragraph straight away, our country has had enough. Our country, us American patriots, our glorious republic, Our, the same our who is we. You see how it all comes together, and he's carrying on that language. We have had enough. This is the line. Hither or thou shalt come and no further. He's drawing a line. He's saying, I've had enough. That's what he's saying. We've had enough. We will not take it anymore. We will not take it anymore. We're all in this together, and there's hundreds of thousands of us, remember? Remember. That's what this is all about. Okay, if you're right, I sincerely doubt it, but anyone who wants to try and see if they can build a case against the guy, just read out this sentence in court. Just this one sentence. Just this sentence right here. No need for anything else. Yeah, this sentence right here. Our country has had enough, will not take any more, and that's all that this is about. He's admitting it. That's all that this is about. Yeah? We will not take any more of these apparently rigged elections, this big tech and this fake news. We've had enough. That's what this is about. Apparently. According to Trump. Okay? To use a favourite term that all you people really came up with. You came up with it. You came up with it. So he doesn't want to admit that he had any part in this. But he's going to put himself on the inside with these people. I'm going to speak to you in your language. You know, if you notice, by the way, they didn't do a bad job. It's all nice and intimate, and I'm talking to you and you and you individually. We will stop the steal. That's what this is. And stop the steal. Remember, we were looking at that list of rhetorical devices? Yeah? We were looking at that. Stop the steal. Here's your first one. Your alliteration. Stop the steal. It rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? You can't help but say it. And you say it in a particular way. You say, stop the steal, stop the steal. It's that plosive sound. The words themselves are powerful because of how they sound. Give them meaning, and the meaning takes on the power of the sound itself. When you're looking at speeches, you always have to think about how the words sound, not just how they look on the page. Although how they look on the page can also help. You know, your plosive sounds, your P's. You stop. We stop. The steal. It's been stolen from us by the fake news media. All the same language, linking it all in together. And he says, today I will lay out just some. So if his arguments don't stand up here, well, he's got other arguments. He's already setting himself up. He's already sandbagging and saying, look, just some of the evidence proving that we won this election. Just some. So when a news site, and they did, because I've got a link to it here that I'm going to drop in the chat in a few minutes, comes out and says, you know, this, a categorical outright lies. Well, I've got more. I've got more. There's always more. And this is the thing I've noticed with Trump supporters. Anytime anyone calls out something he said, well, he knows more. He's just not telling us that. And as long as he can convince his supporters that there's more to the story, that he knows more than he's saying outright, because the news media won't let him, because the big fake news are hiding it, they will believe in him. They will believe in him because they will believe that there's something more to the story. And as long as they believe there's more to the story, they will back him. And he knows that, and he's playing right into that with this. Because he's laying out just some of the evidence proving. He's proving that we won this election again. You see, we, our country, our American patriots, we won, and we won it by a landslide. This repetition again in the language. Repetition is brilliant for when you're making a speech. It sticks in the mind. It sticks, and that's all he wants. He doesn't want everyone to remember every word of the speech. He just wants a few people to remember bits of it. He's saying, we won by a landslide. There can't possibly be any question whether we won. It was stolen from us. This was not a close election. He likes his short, punchy sentences when he's making points like that. His nice, long, flowery sentences. But then when he's really coming to his point, he shortens the sentences, makes them punchy, and they're fired at you. That's how he does it. It's like the difference between running a tap and, the hearing a machine gun fire. One's going to stick in your head a lot better than the other. When you use longer sentences and more complex things, people don't remember all of it. But when you shorten that, especially when you surround those shorter sentences with longer sentences, you make the shorter sentences more important. He says sometimes jokingly, "Oh, look at me, Matt, I'm human. I'm a real boy. I can joke. I'm just like you." That's what he's doing with this. Okay? But there's no joke. I sometimes joke, but there's no joke. How many times have we said, you've got to laugh, because if I don't laugh, I'll cry? How many people say that? Hey, Mags, don't worry, you're good. This bit here, there's no joke. He says he's been in 2 elections. Yeah, he's been in 2 elections. He claims he won them both, and the second one, I won much bigger than the first. He likes to do this. His grammatically incorrect sentences drive me slightly crazy. And the thing is, they're designed to. They are designed to irritate you. As an educated person listening to this man, these speeches are designed to make you think, what the hell is this idiot talking about? Because these speeches are not for educated people. These speeches are for the mob. And he's talking to people. Again, it's that intimacy. I might say it in a grammatically incorrect way when I'm talking to my best friends around a table in a pub. But you expect more from politicians, and this humanizes him to his audience. And it almost so immediately, anyone who doesn't like him is going to switch off. Because they're going to think, this guy's got nothing worth saying because he can't even speak properly. That's how he's telling people to switch off. He's literally telling anyone who would call him out to switch off with this sentence. And it's very, very cleverly done, because it's just dropped in there. And it's this one. The sentence just doesn't... I don't ever think that sentence makes sense. It makes sense when you speak it, but to look at it, read it. I won them both, and the second one I won much bigger than the first. I feel like there should be another comma here. But the reason there's no comma in the transcript is because there wasn't a verbal pause. So that's why it's this run-on clause that becomes a sentence, but it feels incomplete. And it feels incomplete because then he goes on to list. And I'm not going to sit here and go through these numbers. Okay? He's claiming almost 75 million people voted for his campaign. Again, with the grammar, dude. Most of any incumbent president by far in the history of our country. It's these cut-off sentences. Here. Almost like there's words missing from the start of them. It's designed to grab you and shake you like a doll. You're not supposed to take this in. It's supposed to hit you hard and fast, and you haven't got time to process it. He's talking so fast, he's missing words out. He's excited. And when the speechmaker is excited, the crowd is excited. So many more people. And then this, and this one as well. This, Mr. Trump's real pollsters. Mr. Trump's real pollsters deserve a completely different colour of their own. Let's go with brown, because he's clearly full of, yeah. I was told by the real pollsters. Why is the colour not changing? There. Yeah, I was told by the real pollsters. We do have real pollsters. Who are they? Come on. You've got real pollsters. Tell me, who are they? Who are they? Who are these real pollsters, Mr. Trump? We do have them, so who are they? He never tells you who these pollsters are. Spoiler alert. He's not supposed to. You're supposed to trust that he knows who the real pollsters are. Yeah, Mags, grammar is not a word in this dude's vocabulary. I wish it was. It made my brain hurt. Okay. And this is the whole thing. He knows people. I knew a guy who told me this. It's bullshit. Just outright, it's bullshit. This is what they do. I had a vision. A friend told me. I'm asking for a friend. It's that. That's what he's going for here. Yeah. And then he says, when I was told if we went from 63 to 66, there was no chance of losing. We went to 75 and they say we lost. You're not supposed to take in the numbers. That's not the point. What he's saying is, I got more votes than I did last time and I still lost. How? Well, the size of the electorate grew. Yeah. Exactly, Scummer. He has the pollsters. Nobody knows polls like he does. And he's going to beat this comment about the pollsters with a frigging horse riding crop, I swear. Yeah, that's another dead. Okay. And then this, by the way, did you know? Oh, come here, let me tell you a secret. Yeah? They say, does anybody believe? Do you believe? I don't believe it. Do you believe it? That he had 80 million votes. Does anybody believe that? This emphasis, again, this repetition, this rhetorical question. That's the point. These rhetorical questions, you see them in speeches all the time. Rhetorical questions, you're supposed to think the opposite of whatever you're being asked. Do you believe that? Of course I don't. Duh. What idiot would believe that? You know? Where was it? My real pollsters told me. Yeah? Who would believe it? Yeah? We go then. I'm honest and I don't believe it. I'm an American patriot and I don't believe it. Yeah, the fake news media are telling me this. So, of course, I don't believe it. Sorry, I'm shouting. I know I'm shouting. I apologise if I'm ringing anyone's ears. But this is important because this is how he plays. He makes his audience feel intelligent. And when you make people feel intelligent, they don't question what they're telling you. Yeah? So, in this, he had 80 million computer votes. Fake votes. Computers. Computers aren't people. He's talking to a crowd of, let's be honest, probably low educated, who maybe ain't all that comfortable with technology. Computers are a very modern invention. Computers have exploded in the last 20 years. 20 years ago, we were worried about the 2000 bug. And look what happened. The Y2K bug. And this is because, and he's feeding into that narrative of people who maybe can't afford the latest tech. And if you can't afford it and you don't use it, you don't understand things you don't use. Most of us who are looking at this, who are in the chat, you're on a computer now, you know how it works. You might have built your own. I know I did. We have an understanding of what this technology is. The computer is not the bogeyman. But to anyone over a certain age, of a certain income, a certain background, computers are a bogeyman. Trust me, I work in customer service. I deal with people who won't go near computers all day long. They're a nightmare. But that's what he's feeding into here. Computers are the enemy. Big tech is the enemy, remember? Fake news, all those people online, big tech is silencing me. They're the enemy. They're computers. We're people, they're computers. We're human, they're not. And he says it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. He's going to shake his head and wag his finger at you. It's a disgrace. It's horrible. Your old Auntie Mabel's just come into your bedroom and she's telling you, tidy this up. It's a disgrace. It's this this language, it's strong emotive language. He says, and then I want to talk about, and I'm going to go separate for this because, again, it's one of those where it's important because he does it a lot. He goes out throughout this speech. Third world countries he talks about. Take third world countries. Yeah? It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. All this repetition. Yeah? But third world countries, and we all know, third world countries, what was it he called them? A few years back, wasn't it? Those shithole countries where he gets his kafevi from? Those third world countries? Yeah. It's a disgrace that America, our glorious Republic of America, can't hold an election that can even go anywhere near as honest as third world countries. This, again, playing into the shame narrative, playing into, we're not, we invaded those countries, we're better than them, but how can they do this and we can't? Yeah. That's what he's getting at here. And he goes on about this third world countries thing. He repeats this so much if you look. Yeah? This one. They're all running around like chickens with their head cut off with boxes. Last night, he's talking about elections. Nobody knows what the hell is going on. Nobody knows what the hell is going on in America, but they know in their third world countries. There's never been anything like this in our glorious republic. And then back again to his, we will not let them silence your voices. I am with you. We will not let them. We will fight for you. These are fighting words, are these. We're not going to let it happen. As if they've got any say in the matter. Not going to let it happen. And again, what was I talking about? This repetition. Groups of 3. Perfect rhetorical devices. Don't get me wrong, the guy's an asshole, but his speeches they tick every box in the how to write a persuasive speech list. Yeah, he says thank you. Again, he's constantly thanking his audience. Yeah. I'd love to have, if those tens of thousands of people would be allowed. Yeah, we want to thank you and the police, law enforcement. If you are a law-abiding citizen, I want to thank you. If you are an American patriot, I want to thank you. You are committed to the honesty of our elections. I want to thank you because you keep us from being one of these third world countries. He's very good at dropping in thanks and great. You're doing a great job. Yeah. Pretty please, Mr. Police Officer, can my friends come and join me on the stage? Is that possible? Can you please just let them come up, pretty please? How many times as a kid did you knock on your friend's door and say to their mum, pretty please, can they stay out and play for half an hour longer? Pretty please. Yeah, again, I respect our law enforcement. Great American law enforcement. Our soldiers, our law enforcement. It's all feeding into that same nationalistic narrative of you're an American patriot, Americanism. Oh yeah, it's all that. And it's, yeah, hang on, I just need a drink. Nice timing, Maggie. Yeah, a shithole country post from your time when you were in Tanzania popped on Facebook today. Again, how many other people's Facebooks did it pop up on? These third world countries. Yeah? As Jeff just succinctly put it, all of this, law enforcement, secret service, military, great. We want to thank you. America, fuck yeah. That's what's going on in this bit of this speech. And it's all being done with the voters. They're on our side. We're thanking them. They're with us. So not only now are we hundreds of thousands of people, but we've got the establishment on our side, the police and the soldiers and the Secret Service. They're with us because we're grateful for them. We look up to them. We're the law-abiding citizens in this situation. That's where he's going here. And then for the first time, we get a name. Rudy, you did a great job. Rudy. Oh. Yeah, he's got guts. He's brave. He's brave like our police law enforcement. He's brave. He's willing to stand up for our glorious republic. He's an American patriot. That's what Rudy's doing. He's got guts. And then, unlike a lot of people in the Republican Party. And again, where am I? Because it's just... unlike a lot of people in the Republican Party. Again, he's setting his entire audience up to say, if they're not with us, they're against us, even if we fly the same political flag. He's slowly, and he's been doing it for a while, but this is a direct statement. He is no longer part of the establishment Republican Party. He never really was. He is going as anti-establishment as he can possibly go, while still maintaining that he respects law enforcement and the police and the soldiers, because his audience, they're police, they're soldiers. He respects them. He loves them. But the Republicans don't love them. They must be against us. You're either with us or against us, and it doesn't matter which political party you're in. And that is such an important comment, because he does it so much. He is creating this bubble of people. He's got his quote unquote hundreds of thousands of people listening to his speech, and there's us and we people who respect the law, respect the police, we who want to fight for our country and the integrity of our elections, and then there's everyone else. He's creating this political binary. He's got guts, he says, to be part of this group, to be unlike a lot of people in the Republican Party. You've got to have guts. You've got to fight. Yeah, I'll tell you. Yeah, fantastic job. Fantastic job. Yeah, personal names again. Thank you very much, John. Fantastic job. I watched. That's a tough act to follow. Look at him. John, one of the most brilliant lawyers in the country. How the hell would you know? Do you know the first thing about American law? Who told you he was the most brilliant lawyer in the country? I bet if I open an American phone book right now, I can find 10 adverts, all claiming to be for the most brilliant lawyer in the country. Lawyer of what? Do you know how broad law is as a topic? He's gone from Julia to this. And he's just... he could be a defense lawyer. I hope he is, because if he's that good, Trump's going to need him. Yeah, he could be a lawyer who writes business contracts. What's that got to do with an election? But he's the most brilliant lawyer. He could be the most brilliant football player. He doesn't mean he knows fuck all about elections, but people hear the word lawyer and they hear brilliant and they think, this person knows. This person is clever. I know clever people. I know real pollsters, remember? That's all this is. He's making out like he's surrounded by the best and the brightest, when we know he's not, because his cabinet has been a revolving door for the last 4 years and he can't fill the jobs. He can't get the people to do the jobs. Yeah, he's got his most brilliant lawyer who said this is a disgrace, that this could be happening to our constitution, our glorious republic, us and our country, our American patriots. That's what he's doing. It's a disgrace. He said it was a disgrace up here, but those were his words. But suddenly the most brilliant lawyer in the country says this is a disgrace. And suddenly what he says matters. It matters now because a brilliant person said it. And then now we have here. Now, remember we had the mention of, I told you to, spoiler alert earlier, I said, watch out for how many times he mentions Mike Pence. It's not an accident that he started mentioning lawyers and then he mentioned Mike Pence. That's deliberate. That is absolutely deliberate. And I'm just going to show you something here, if this will let me do it. Yeah? Mike. How many times does the name Mike appear in this speech? Yeah? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 times. 11 times. Yeah, you've got your fake news. Only gets 6 mentions, but Mike Pence gets called on 11 times. Yeah? The Democrats, who are supposed to be your opposition, 15 mentions, but that's an entire political party. This is one man. And the search and find function in any document when you're studying it, godsend. You can find things like this and yank it out straight away. That's what it's there for. Yeah? Now, he says, and now he's spent, don't forget, he's just spent the last 5 minutes of this speech. He's just spent the last 5-10 minutes telling you that we are, we are law-abiding citizens. We are American patriots. We are defending our Constitution. We are in the right. And now he says, what does he say? Yeah, if I can make my pen work. He says, I hope Mike does the right thing. If Mike does the right thing, we win. We win. I hope so. This is a direct plea to Mike Pence, but it's more than that. This is Trump saying, do the right thing. This person who's been saying, we will fight against people who've been doing the wrong thing. We will fight against the people who stole this election. So if Mike Pence doesn't do, quote, the right thing, he's going to become one of those people. So I really hope he does. He's setting Mike Pence up as the Judas figure with that comment. Yeah. And I've seen it. I'm sure you've all seen it on Twitter since these speeches. Trump supporters, at least Judas had the decency to hang himself. That's what they're thinking. And I can see we've got a few newcomers in the chat since the last time I stopped ranting to have a look. Hi, Sammy, PJ, DOG, Nerdy's in there. Hey, Nerdy. Yep, so this to me, you are right. It sounds like a threat, and that's because it is. It's a threat. He is calling these people to make sure Mike does the right thing. Okay? And it's all he has to do. Just this one tiny little thing. It's all he has to do. This from his number one or certainly top constitutional lawyers in the country. You're strongly encouraged to assume that this is this person. You are strongly encouraged to assume this. But I don't know who this John is. I don't even know his last name. Who the hell is it? Why don't you tell me his name so I can Google him and find out if he's actually as good as he says he is? Why do I have to take your word about who this guy is? Never, ever name people specifically if you're using them to back up your argument in a speech, in a persuasive speech like this. All Trump supporters hear from this is, oh, brilliant lawyers said that Mike Pence can do it. So if Mike Pence doesn't do it, he's a traitor. And it was only a little thing he had to do. He's getting them up. He's winding them up. And this whole speech is about winding them up because at the end, he's going to cut them loose. Okay? He says he has the absolute right to do it. This tiny little thing, the right thing. He has the absolute right to do it. So if he doesn't do it, he's done the wrong thing. We're supposed to protect our country, support our country, support our Constitution, protect our Constitution. You see this circular sentence, country and Constitution brought together become conflated. Your country is your Constitution. Your Constitution is your country. And your Constitution says, because your constitutional lawyer says, that Mike Pence can win us this election. You see how it all comes together. The states want to revoke this bit here. And again, you see your short sentences surrounded by your longer ones. All he has to do. States want to revote. They voted on it. They want it back. You're not supposed to take in any of the rest of it around it. You're supposed to take this. States got defrauded. Short, 3-word sentences. Punchy. Yeah? But what states? Which states? American states? Gas, liquid and solid states? Hawaii? Which states? Because he's not named the states, no one's going to ask him to prove it. You can't, if he says states and he says, states, you know what I mean, states. So when we say, people say, who are people? Names, give me names. But you can't give me names, because if you give me names, I can go and find out the truth. But if you keep it vague, I can't argue with you. And then we go. All Vice President Pence has to do is send it back to the states rescue. All he has to do. This one right thing, just this tiny little thing that he has the absolute right to do. And we become president. We become president. Us. The 100,000s of us. This group that he spent so long talking about and getting intimate with and using his intimate language with, and us and we and our country and our constitution, we become president. And you are the happiest people, because you have what is it? Come on, Americans in the chat, catch me up. The happiest people. You have the right to pursue your happiness. You have the absolute right, and no one has the right to take it away from you. And that's what he's going at. And I'm going to stop for another drink. Now, I stopped there, to get a drink, because all this talking is thirsty work. But also have a look at this. Something I want to point out here. Let's put this in, I don't really matter what colour, I'm just making a point. Mike Pence, full name, formal. Yeah. He, Vice President Pence, again with the formality. And then suddenly, I just spoke to Mike. We're best buddies, me and Mike. I've got the ear of the Vice President. I told him what I think. So I've tried. I've spoken to him. And that's what this next bit is. This doesn't take courage, Mike. Courage is to do nothing. That takes courage. So he's basically saying, so if you don't stand up and put a stop to this and make me president, you're a brave man. That's a threat. That's an outright threat. And anyhow he said that outright to Pence, Pence better be ready to stand up and say something about that when this case comes going. Yeah? The courage is to do nothing. Brave man. A brave man if you can stand by and do nothing and let this happen. Yeah? Because then if you're brave, and brave, let's be abundantly clear here. Brave here is not brave, hoorah, American patriot. Brave here is, and I'm going to put it in bright red to prove the point, yeah? Bright red, and there's a bit of yellow underneath. This is so close to brave, it's stupid. This is stupid. You're a brave man, you are. You sure about that? You want to be brave, really? Because if you're brave, we're stuck. It's not just 4 years, we're stuck with a president who lost the election by a lot. Remember? By a lot, by millions. You're not even supposed to remember those numbers from further up the speech at this point. But remember, we've got 12 more million people than 4 years ago. Almost 75 million people voted for us. And all of Joe's votes, don't forget Joe's votes. What was it about Joe's votes? What was it they said? Where was it? You see how it's so easy to get caught up in all of this. Yeah? He's 80 million computer votes. Yeah? He's 80 million computer votes. He lost by a lot. And we have to live with that. Do you ever say that you have to live with something that's a good thing? Ever? We have to live with that for 4 more years. More long, arduous years. And then again, so he's making his pitch. This is his pitch. He's telling you long years, more years, to a president who lost by a lot. He's dragging this out here. He's making them think it's going to be a long 4 years with Biden as president. And we're just not going to let that happen. Do you remember he said that earlier too? We're not going to let that happen. We're not going to let that happen. We will stop the steal. Yeah? That's what this is all about. We're not going to let that happen. You're going to hear that sentence so many times in this speech. Okay? Many of you have travelled from all across the nation. We're not alone. There's hundreds of thousands of us. Look at the magnitude of this crowd. Calling back again. The more he repeats these statements, the truer they sound to his audience. And I want to thank you. Again, I want to thank you for your support. I want to thank you in the same way I thanked our military and our Secret Service and our law enforcement. You're doing a great job. I want to thank you for this extraordinary love. Look at how much you love me. That's what it is. And again, never been a movement like this. Ever, he says, ever. For the extraordinary love, your repetition again. For this amazing country, this amazing movement, conflating the two. The movement is the country and the country is the movement. And remember, the country, do you remember? Who remembers? Come on, say it with me now. Our country, remember? Where is it? Our glorious republic, us American patriots and our glorious republic. We who are committed in our country to the honesty of our elections. Look at it. This is our country. And we are this amazing movement. We are this country, this glorious republic. And those two words, this glorious republic, I'm sticking on that because it's so important. He only says it once, but he only has to say it once because it colours the rest of the speech. Because those are the words. Those words they stick out. They sound weird. They sound out of place. And when you've been whittled on at for this long, because I've gone on for longer than him now, and if you're still with me, thank you. Because I've gone on for an hour and 20 minutes, and I'm nowhere near this yet. But they will stick with you. And we haven't even got to fact-checking or anything else yet. But listen, all the way back past the Washington Monument, this amazing movement. Do you believe it? Look at it. Do you remember? He couldn't remember. I looked and I saw thousands. You see? All of it. And all he's doing is just going to repeat the whole thing time and time again. I wish they'd flip the cameras and look behind you. It's amazing. When they make a mistake, you get to see it on television. It's amazing. It's amazing. Them, the media who won't show you this so I can say what I want, because they are taking the cameras off me to prove me wrong. And then this, I love this. Cancel, and then they want to take the name off Washington Monument. Cancel culture. It's another conspiracy. Washington Monument? Our Washington Monument on our Capitol Hill in our glorious country, our movement, our people, and they want to take away our memorials, our monuments. How dare they? Okay? But I don't think it's going to happen, he says. It damn well better not. There's your threat again. Although with this administration, if this happens, it could happen. If you let them take over, if you let Biden take his presidency, he's going to strip your country of everything that makes it your country. He's going to pull down the Washington Monument and take the names off it and get rid of the Jefferson Memorial, these great founding fathers of our nation, and they're going to be forgotten and thrown away because of some passing fad of cancel culture. you're going to see some really bad things happen. Nice and vague, that, isn't it? It's so nice and vague. Give them a nice vague threat. Yeah? They'll knock out Lincoln too, by the way, as if it's an offhand thing. Yeah, Lincoln as well, he'll go. Yeah? And then he's going on about his law for a bit here. You go to jail for 10 years and everything stopped. This is a direct hit at the Black Lives Matter movement. Everything stopped. We brought in the law and everything stopped. That's not why it stopped. He's trying to take credit here. Yeah? New York City is going to hell, but everything stopped when we brought in our law. Yeah? Is that okay, Rudy? We're best buddies, me and Rudy. Yeah? And then again, we've gathered in the heart of our nation's capital for one very basic, simple reason: to save our democracy. Nice and hard-hitting. Again, it's the same thing. It's this same constitution. He's not said anything of any substance yet. He's not given any specific thing. He's just the rhetoric over and over. Yep, and this is 6 pages in of 40 odd. Okay, so again, I'm just going to skip a lot of this bit because it's the same rhetoric. People he doesn't actually name, but who apparently, are going to tell him, this bit he says, "Sir, we'll never let it happen again," people told him. But you're guaranteed in 4 years. So he's already setting him up for a fight in 4 years. This is why it's so important he's impeached. Because they already know that's the plan. Yeah. But he wants to go back 8 weeks, because they stole it from us, and we're not going to let them do that. We want to get this right. Our country will be destroyed, and we're not going to stand for that. Again, with these vague but ominous threats. And these this person who said, we'll never let it happen again. If you're not with me, you're against me. And then this, for years, Democrats have got away with election fraud, and weak Republicans conflating the two. It's so important that he conflates the two there, because now any Republican who crosses the aisle is a traitor. And it's not about party politics anymore. It's about Trump, and it's about everyone else. And you're either with Trump or you're against him. There's so many weak Republicans. If you turn on Trump now, you're weak. You're not an American patriot. You're not a fighter. You're not a great one. You're not fighting. Yeah? I could name 24 of them, say. Everyone in his audience knows who those 24 are. I won't bore you with it. I love this rhetorical device. I won't bore you with it. I can't be bothered digging it all up, but basically, I'm telling you something you already know. I'm not going to bother telling you because you already know. I'm going to make you feel clever and like you're in on it and like you already know everything that needs to know. Yeah? Weak Republicans, pathetic Republicans. Hell all over the country. It's the same rhetoric over and over, yeah? And again, what did I say he's trying to do with his audience? He's trying to make them feel clever, like they're the in crowd, like they're the ones who matter. You're stronger, you're smarter, you've got more going than anybody. And they try to demean everybody having to do with us. There's us, we're stronger, we're smarter, and they're demeaning us. We're the real people. You're the people that built this nation. You, on your backs, be proud of this country. You're not the people who tore it down. So there's us who built it, who are stronger, smarter, and then there's them who are going to tear it down. The weak Republicans. Hang on. Weak Republicans 5 times. Over the space of 2 pages, the same thing. You're meant to latch on to that phrasing. Weak Republicans. Guarantee you all his supporters would be repeating those words. Because they stick. They're meant to. Yeah? They've turned a blind eye. They're corrupt. chipping away at our jobs, weakened our military. Same military was thanking earlier, don't forget, threw open our borders, put America last. Someone remind me, I'm sure. Wasn't his last time he ran for politics, wasn't he saying, make America great, America first? Wasn't that his whole shtick? And now he's creating that binary. They put America last. Yeah. Joe Biden says, I want to get rid of America first policy. And this. This is, he almost sounds like he's trying to offer Joe Biden some advice here. And again, it's that he's making his people feel clever. What's that all about? Is the man mad? What? You can almost see him gesturing. What? Yeah. How do you sit? How do you even, with your whole ass chest, did you really say that? Is what's going on here. And even if you're going to, you don't talk about it. Some things you just don't say. You don't admit to it, for God's sake. How stupid are you? Unbelievable. He's unbelievably stupid. He actually said it. Yeah. And you have to get your people to fight this. If they don't fight, we have to primary the hell out of the ones that don't fight. You primary them. Start calling the ones who aren't on our side. Let's get them out of their seats. How do you call a primary in America? You make them resign. You know, worst comes to the worst. I'm not saying it outright because I don't want this stream stopped, but, you know, worst comes to the worst. Yeah, and we're going to tell you, we're going to let you know who you are. Listen to us. We're going to tell you all you need to know. Frankly, I already can. I'm psychic, babe. These people are so weak and so see-through that I already know who the traitors are. They're using the China virus. Again, this racist us versus them, America first language. The only people still calling it this phrase are Trump supporters. It's not, that virus is worldwide. Yeah, the scam. You've been scammed. They've had you. They've done you up like a kipper, as they used to say down south in England. Yeah? Of mail-in ballots. This same thing. Democrat, the most brazen, outrageous. Remember, unbelievable. Even if you're going to do it, don't talk about it. Theft. It's been stolen from us. And again, pure theft in American history. Everybody knows it. You're everybody, aren't you? You know it. You must know it because everybody knows it. So if everybody knows it, why are we even arguing? That election was over at 10 in the evening, he says. We're leading. And this is where he starts to really get into the detail now. And this is where I'm going to start skipping big chunks of it because there's a few websites I'm going to send you all to that have got the fact-checking things on it. So let's have a look. Let's see, because there's one here I want to show you. This is a great website. There's a link in the description, but I'm also going to drop it in the chat now. This is the specific fact check page on factcheck.org for this speech, which is going to save me a hell of a lot of time because you can read it in your own time. Just assume that, you know. So I'm just looking at the rhetoric itself here. So he's saying we're leading, and he starts reeling off hundreds of thousands. We're leading. Then late in the evening, boom, boom, out of nowhere, bullshit. All of a sudden, it started to happen. They turned on us. They came for us. Now, this little aside here about Romney. You know, I had my beef with Romney. I had my issues with him and his binders full of women and his kittens and his, you know. I had my issues with the guy. Okay? But he got beaten. He stands up like you're more typical. I'd like to congratulate the victor. Who was the victor, mate? So now he's going back in history and he's accusing past elections of being fraudulent. I'd like to congratulate. They don't go and look at the facts. So he's calling any election that a Republican hasn't won, he's calling into question right now. He got slaughtered probably. Maybe it was okay. Yeah. The lecture was so corrupt, we've never seen anything like it. You can go all the way back. You can go back to Romney. Yeah. America is blessed with elections all over the world. They talk about our elections. Oh, hell yes, we do. But we don't talk about them in the way you think, mate. Yeah. And what the world says now, that we don't have free and fair elections. Well, at this point, the attack hadn't happened yet, but, you know, the only people not saying that, he's saying, look, even the rest of the world agrees with me. Even people outside America who are looking at this, who can see it happening, they agree with me. Yes, America, your media is not free. It's not fair, and it does suppress thought, but not in the way Trump's going on about. And he takes a truth and he twists it with insinuations. He does that a lot. It's become the enemy of the people. This is something Margaret Thatcher did, and I'm sure Jeff can probably tell me the right quote if he's there. Yeah. She called it the enemy within, the press, the civil service. She talked about how the unions were the enemy within, the enemy of the people. And she brought down the unions with rhetoric like that because people lost trust and lost faith in them, amongst other things, but it helped. This is what he's doing here. He's trying to bring them down by chipping away at that trust. It's the biggest problem we have. And again, his third world, he likes talking about his third world countries, doesn't he? He knows he can't get away with calling them shithole countries again, but he doesn't have to. Because his audience, his third world countries, and we know that's what he means. Yeah. We're fighting like a boxer tied with hands behind our backs. It's not fair. We want to be so nice, but they're forcing us, and it's not fair. We want to be so respectful to everybody, including bad people. Would that be these same bad people you were talking about with the statues, the BLM? Would that be those bad people? Maybe. Or maybe he's talking about people who won't come through for us, like we're hoping Mike's gonna. And he's back on Mike Pence again. If he doesn't, it'll be a sad day for our country. Our country, us. You're sworn. You made us a promise, you traitor, to uphold our Constitution again with the American patriotism, our glorious republic. This egregious assault on our democracy. No way Trump wrote this sentence. I'm sorry. If that guy can spell egregious, I will eat my laptop. Okay, someone is putting words in his mouth here, but they're doing it in such a way, just enough to make him sound clever. Does the average American know what the word egregious means? Really? Or does it just sound good? And can you guess what it means from the context? Blind them with these comments. Yeah. Yep, Jeff, that's it. That's the one. The remark was about the unions, the national unions of mine workers. And it's that same rhetoric. He's aiming to bring them down. So here we go. There we go. And then this is where he starts to give instructions for the first time. So far it's been, we're not going to stand for this. He's wound them all up now. They're ready to go. They're raring to go. They want to know where they're going. We're going to walk down anyone you want. This is your capital. We're going to walk down and we're going to cheer on our brave senators, congressmen and women. Brave. The ones who are going to be brave to stand up against this terrible thing that's happening. We're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them. Again, it's this insinuation. You'll never take our country back with weakness. Our country, take it back. It's all this emotive language. It's a call to arms. Show strength. You have to be strong. You can't be weak. We have to demand that they do. Do you remember Mike Pence has to do the right thing? Congress has to do the right thing now. You have to do the right thing. Just that little thing you wanted Mike Pence to do. Just that little thing. Lawfully slated. He likes this. He likes to make his repetitions of certain phrases sound accidental, sound like it's just the way he talks. It's not. It's deliberate. It's deliberate. And it's designed that you take in the phrase and you make sure it sticks by repeating it like that. Yeah, we'll be marching. It's nice and militaristic. We'll be marching to the capital to peacefully and patriotically make your voice heard. That's the first time he's mentioned anything about being peaceful. For the last 11 pages, he's been going on about how we will not let this happen, how we will fight, but suddenly he wants peaceful. Someone told him you're getting too strong here, pull it back a bit. That's what that word's there for. It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit the narrative at all. Yeah? We'll see whether Republicans stand strong, but peacefully. But peacefully, peacefully. Patriotically, but peacefully. Again, this phrase, the integrity of our elections, that's another one that gets repeated a lot. But whether or not they stand for our country. You see the repetition, the way he does it? Makes it sound like he's just finishing his sentence or he's slip of the tongue and he wants to make sure he was heard. Our country, this triplicate repetition. It's not an accident. Has been under siege. We've got to stand strong, but peacefully. But peacefully. Yeah, okay. Far longer than this 4-year period. Go back to Mitt Romney. Go back. It's been happening for years. We've said on a much straighter course, especially to Christians, this expression. Yeah? Narrow is, what is it? Straight is the course and narrow the gate or something? Straighter course. I thought it would be easy. I thought. Pity me, help me. I thought. 4 more years of it, 4 long years of it. And now he gets into his spiel. I'm not going through all this. Economy, military, tax cuts, regulation cuts. Yeah. Look at me. I can build a highway now without worrying about the people who live on the side of it who are going to choke to death. Space Force, yay, Space Force. And military, totally rebuilt. Space Force, yay. Major achievement. And with us, it's so many different things. And that's just one thing that we did. That's just one thing. And look how big it is. And then again, these cut-off sentences, like he's thinking of it off the cuff. It's not an accident. It's not. It's meant to sound like he's thinking ahead. He's excited. He wants everyone excited with him. He's excited for what he's done. Yeah, right to try. Everyone knows to right to try. Do you remember your pursuit of happiness from earlier? Right to try. We took care of our vets. How many veterans are in the crowds? We took care of our vets. Highest rated. Yeah, always. Horrible. But look at it now. We got accountability done. He likes this buzzword, accountability, until it's applied to him. Yeah? You don't have to wait 4, 6, 8 weeks, 4 months to see a doctor. This long time. Yeah? And we pay the doctor. Short, sharp sentence to finish it off. Round it up. Yeah? We've made life wonderful. We saved tremendous amounts of money. How? What have you done? How much? How much is a tremendous amount? Come on, tell me. Yeah? We've saved a lot of money. How much? No figures. Where's your figures? But it sounds good. It doesn't have to be accurate or even specific. It just has to sound good. Hi there, Edward. You have landed in the middle of hissy throwing an utter fit about the state of this Trump speech. That's what you've landed in the middle of. Speaking of, yeah, should have had that up for really the last 40 minutes at least. So he's the right to fire bad people. Could they be the same bad people who wanted to destroy monuments, who who we had to put a law in to make them stop? These same bad people who aren't going to stand up against the Democrats. All people, if they're not with us, they're against us. Again, they treated our veterans horribly. They're animals. There's a great trope in American culture of what they call the spat upon veteran. It's a trope largely from the Vietnam War. And there's these stories, and it's an anecdotal story of soldiers who come back from Vietnam and civilians spitting on them in the streets. There are literally no viable, valid, proven times that happened. There's no photographs. You know, the Vietnam War was one of the most photographed wars in history. There's no photographs of this. Yeah. The soldiers coming home were always covered by there's no images of this. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that there's no stories because people believe it anyway. That's what he's harking to there. They treated our veterans horribly. Our veterans who go out there and fight for us and our country, remember? Yeah, they would have treated our veterans badly. We have the VA, and again, he's dropping these. It sounds good, but what is it? What does accountability even mean? Somebody tell me, please. What does it mean? Yeah. So he's going to tell me if they don't treat our vets well, they steal, they rob, they do things badly. We say, Joe, you're fired. Get out of here. You couldn't do that before. Pretty sure you could, mate. Pretty sure you could fire people who were stealing and robbing and being vicious. But that doesn't sound as good, does it? It doesn't sound as good. So he says we've taken care of things. Nice and vague. Nice and vague. We're like, nobody's ever thought possible. Look at us, we're amazing. We've done things nobody ever thought possible. Yeah, and we've done it quickly. Yeah? Everybody had us down for a victory because we did this. It was going to be great. And now we're fighting. These fighting words again. Yeah, let me show you this. Fighting, constantly fighting. We're fighting. Yeah? We're going to take a few days and relax. 10 o'clock, it was over. He's creating, again, this narrative of the election night he's creating that we all know is bullshit. Because the election was nowhere near over at 10 o'clock on election night. What the hell? We know this is bullshit. But if he tells his supporters it was over at 10 o'clock, that means it must have been corrupt. It had to be corrupt for it to be over by then. Yeah. It was this catastrophizing language. Yeah. They say, wow, Pennsylvania's insurmountable. Yeah. Ohio's going to be close. We set a record. Yeah. And we set a record. This. We set a record with the Hispanic community, with the Black community. But there's no numbers. Where's the numbers? Show me the numbers. Tell me. Again, it's that vagueness. Just enough to get your blood up and make you think, something's not right here. That's it. Done. Yeah? And again, now we've got our important event today. We're going to see whether we have great and courageous leaders or whether we have leaders that should be ashamed of themselves throughout history. It's that simple. Throughout eternity. Do you want to be like those people who are going to be ashamed of themselves forever, or do you want to be great and courageous with me? Never forget if they do the wrong thing. Never forget. Don't give up. Don't stop fighting. With only 3 of the 7 states in question, we win the presidency. With only 3. Only 3. Yeah? By the way, just while I remember, it's much more important than it was 24 hours ago. Now it's urgent. Excuse my handwriting. Yeah, I spoke to David and Kelly, 2 great people. It was a setup. Yeah. We have the veto. We have the veto. Yeah. The veto. Mike Pence's veto, or the veto with the president. That's all we've got. And now, so this is more important than it was. Yeah. 140 members of the House. Warriors. Again, numbers. You're not supposed to take in any of these numbers or any of these details. That's not the point. You're not supposed to remember who those people were that he was talking about. All you're supposed to remember is someone told him he needs a veto. That's it. Yeah. They're studying, they're talking, they're studying the roots of the Constitution. The roots of the Constitution. They're going way back. They're making sure. Yeah, we have the right. We have the right. Americans love their rights. They've got a bill with so many of them. They have a Bill of Rights. We have the right. Whether that was illegal. Bad things to vote for, and they voted because what did they know? Those poor, stupid people. Yeah? It took them 4 years to devise history. And of course, he's got to have a dig at Hillary, hasn't he? And again, all he's doing by bringing up these old names, he's not saying anything of any value. All he's doing is riling the crowd up because they already know that they hate Hillary and they think Mitt's a coward and they like Rudy and they like John and they like Kelly, but they don't like this person. And it's just getting the emotions up and down. He's taking them backwards and forwards, riling them up. Change the votes. You know, why didn't you do it for me? Putting words in Hillary Clinton's mouth. Why didn't you do it for me? Where is she? Yeah. And then he starts listing off names. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 he names, but he wants to thank 13. All you'll remember is that he listed off names, so you'll automatically assume he must have said 13 names. Yeah. It was rigged against them. It was an unfair fight, but they worked so hard. They never had a shot. And then suddenly this equipment, we're back on tech. Yeah. All these names. You're not supposed to take any of it in. Yeah. I think it takes, again, more courage not to step up. Again, that insinuation of it's not a brave thing to stand up for your constitution, except when it is. When he thinks it is. Yeah, he's trying to say, oh, it's not a big thing. It's only a little thing you've got to do, Mike, remember? All you've got to do. Yeah. And then people are going to find out. You better start looking at your leadership. And then this. Now, we all saw the kerfuffle over this $2,000. And Trump's now trying to claim it. That would be, yeah, this is why he sent it back. This is why he sent it back when he was supposed to. So he had the right to say this in his speech. So he could claim that he wanted them to have $2,000. If he wanted them to have $2,000, they'd have had $2,000. Pelosi was ready to do it. It was his people who didn't back it. So that's pure out and out lies. Moving on. Some people disagree with me on that. You've got to let people live. Right thing to do. It's the right thing to do in the same way it's the right thing for Mike to do just his little thing. Remember, all we want to do is always just the right thing to do. Yeah. The media, again, it's back on the media. How many times is it going to cut back on the media? And this cycle over and over. Yeah. They say no evidence of fraud. Oh, really? He's going to read pages. He's going to read pages. By God, strapping. I'm going to skip most of it, but strapping. This is where, if you want to read about his pages and pages of evidence, that link I shared, where's it gone? I did put it in the chat. There we go. Factcheck.org. Just go read that. I'm going to skip over all these pages and pages because he's doing me nothing. But that's what he wants us to do as well. He wants people who don't want to hear about it to skip over it all and ignore it. Like, why that? What's this? Boop, boop. What? Boop, boop. What, does he think he's a robot from Star Wars or something? Like, yeah, where's Hunter? Where's all this with Hunter? They don't talk about him. They don't talk about him, but I do, because remember, I'm honest. Yeah, it's called suppression. They don't talk about it. They suppress. Again, they, not us, them. All the sets will go off, he says. Watch, all the sets will go off. Remember, he was accusing the media of suppressing him, of silencing him, of hiding the crowds, suppressing the questions about this. Would that be the same way he accused the media of suppressing questions about Obama's birth certificate? Would that be what he's doing? Yeah. And he's harking back. Always, always. They've lied to you. They've lied to you. I love this. He accuses Hunter of never having managed money before. Okay, let me tell you something. If you've never managed money before, you're still a better business person than Donald Trump, who managed to drive 2 casinos bankrupt. Okay? But he doesn't mention that because that doesn't matter. That's not relevant right now. What's relevant is that he's never managed money before. Corrupt media. Silent, dead. Yeah? If you go back 10 years ago when he was calling for Obama's birth certificate, I don't. It was like a cleansing motion. Like, dude, do you need a laxative? All this language and all he's doing over and over. We had eyes watching one state and they cheated anyway. All of it. And then this one, the dumbest governors, these dumb people, these stupid people, these weak people. Yeah, a friend of mine's running for governor. He was in 4th, 5th. I endorsed him and he went like a rocket. It's my name that put him there. I'm the winner. Yeah. There were too many calls coming in from Oprah. He didn't notice anything else. He was too busy with Oprah. How many of these people know who Oprah is? A hell of a lot more than know much about politics. Yeah. I was one of the 5 outstanding people. Yeah. I had a campaign against Michelle Obama and Barack Hussein Obama. That. There is no reason to use the man's middle name. It's deliberate. It sounds foreign. It sounds wrong. It sounds Muslimic. I don't know. Like, this is exactly what he's doing. And, Brian Kemp played offensive. And this, how does a 130-man play offensive line football? And it just sounds... It sounds like he's saying, oh, I tried to call it out, but no one would listen. Yeah. He's not happy with the Supreme Court, he says. He should be. He's got 3 justices in there. Yeah, he fought like hell, he says. Cut him loose, they said. They said. They're loyal people. Cut him loose. It's unfair. It's unfair to the family, these American family values. Yeah? And it's all anecdotes. All of this. All these anecdotes about this and this. Where's your evidence, mate? You're just chatting bullshit. All you're doing. You're just telling stories. This is meant to be a speech, not a frigging, it's like that old man who just sits in the corner of the pub pulling you in and just witters on about his life for days. And that's all he's doing. He's just rambling. And he's meant to be rambling. You're not meant to take any of this in. You're not. He told you, 3 pages ago, 4 pages ago, that he's going to start giving you evidence. Where's the evidence? What evidence? You said you'd give me evidence. Oh, wow, 5. Where's your evidence, mate? Look at this. Look how far back I've had to go. And all of this, and everyone who was listening for evidence is getting bored and tired, and it's doing the nutting, and they don't want to listen to this, so they switch off. You switch off. So by the time you get through all of this, yeah, all this bullshit repetition about constitutions and our democracy and us versus them, and your subtle dog whistle racism and your Bill Barr and your Mike Pence and all of it, and they want to hurt us and all of this, you're switched off. You have totally switched off. Even reading this, you switched off. And then he's in with a... So now at this point, you're only taking in every 3rd or 4th word. You're bored. You're tired. Your feet hurt. You've been stood for half an hour. Yeah? You're cold, maybe. It's January. I'm probably cold. Yeah? No judge can do it. No judge can do it. So it was illegal. Everything they do is illegal. That's totally illegal. You can't do that. Doesn't matter. And then again, he goes through it all. By this point, you're not listening. You are not listening. All you are listening to is the buzzwords. We want voter ID. Yeah? They say we don't want it, but why not? There's your insinuation. Yeah? Starts throwing numbers at you, and you're not listening. You're not paying attention. Why would you? All you're hearing is this is a mathematical impossibility, unless you want to say it's total fraud. So it's either mathematically impossible or it's fraud. Yeah? This one, dead people, lots of dead people, thousands. That's all people are hearing. They're not listening to the numbers. They're not going and fact-checking this later. Do you think anyone who was listening to Trump because they wanted to hear him is going to go find that link I dropped for you? Of course not. But that link will tell you how all of this is just total bullshit. And it's the rhetoric and it's the repetition and it's incredible. It's incredible. It's mad. It's nonsense. He likes to use the word incredible instead of calling things crazy or insane. Yeah. I lost by a little bit, but these numbers are massive, so it must be fake. It must be illegally counted. All this repetition over and over again. Yeah, these exclamations, quotes from people. Let's count them anyway, they said. Fraud, fraud. The number of times the word fraud is used in this speech. Yeah, fraud. 23 times. And every single time it's someone. That's more times than he calls on Mike Pence. Mike, you've got competition, mate. Fraud, he's saying. Fraud, 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 over and over and over again. You hear the same word 20 times in an hour. You're going to remember that word. You just are. And it's going to stick. And it's going to stay there. Yeah? You got the ballot back before you build it. Yeah? They were supposedly. It's all insinuations, and I don't think that's too good. It's understatement, because if he understates it, he can't be accused of anything. If you understate it, that's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. But we all know that's what he meant. And his audience knows it too. Illegal ballot harvesting opera, that's an interesting ballot harvesting now. They're not just committing fraud, they're harvesting illegal ballots. It's against the law, he says. Nobody knows where it came from. Yeah, totally unexplained. We can't figure that out. Totally unexplained. After accusing them of fraud, we can't figure that out. Oh, they must be lying. Yeah, it's malicious incompetence he's accusing them of here. Yeah, it was so quick. Doesn't happen that fast. It just doesn't. It doesn't, he says, it doesn't happen that fast. So if it doesn't happen that fast, it must be because something's wrong. It can't possibly have happened that fast. And then again, back onto Mike Pence. Mike Pence has to send it back, has to agree, has to. Not just all he has to. Let's say you don't do it, he says. We have to obey the Constitution. But he's decided he's going to change what obeying the Constitution means. So obeying the Constitution is protecting our country, remember? Our glorious country. You're protecting the Constitution, but think of what happens. They have no choice. These stupid people. Again, all this over and over and over, just the same thing repeated. And this, and another stab at Hunter with his wonderful son. Yeah, this is Trump's greatest hits. This is just pure Trump's greatest hits. An illegitimate president. Fake news media. Suppression effort. You've heard these words so many times in this speech. They've stuck, and they're all that stuck. The cameras went off. Yeah? These are the things you don't hear about. They're just what you heard. If you're not here right now, you're not going to hear this. That's why people aren't going to believe you when you go away and tell them, because the cameras got turned off and they didn't hear this. Big tech, media. Yeah? Wisconsin. This one, I love this little anecdote he puts here. I called a real pollster. Who? John, Jack, Jim, Jose. Who's your real pollster, Don? Yeah, it's called a suppression poll. I think we're going to win. Why do they make it 4 or 5? Because when you're down 17, people don't vote. I mean, it's true. If you think you're that far down, people don't vote. But he's using that as his anecdote. Yeah, people assume if you're that far down, you've lost. Try to blacklist you on social media. Yeah, only radical left do that. Even if it's totally correct. Even if I get a flag, they don't let you get out. And okay, so he's saying, I can't say anything. These people, they silence me. They flag me. I can't get a word in. It's hard to come to my account. He's crying suppression. He's crying freedom of speech here. But you know what else he's doing? Shadow ban, he says. If you have a big voice, they call it a shadow ban. It sounds ominous, that, doesn't it? Sounds big, secret. You know, it's, there's a secret organization and they're going to shadow ban you. Yeah? Well, it's the enemy within. Just like I said, it's the enemy within. It's the deep state. Yeah? And this section 230, Does anyone want to give me a quick summary of what Section 230 is? He mentions it a couple of times in this speech. Provides immunity from civil liabilities for information service providers. Yeah. So essentially, he thinks Section 230, he wants rid of this because he wants Twitter to be held accountable for everything everyone says on Twitter. Or Instagram to be held accountable for that. Or Facebook to be held accountable for that. That's what Section 230 is. But Section 230 sounds big and scary. And what's Section 230 again? He never actually specifies. Yeah. And for some reason, Mitch in the group, they sound like a boy band. I want an album by Mitch in the group. I want their t-shirt. Yeah. It's going to be the end of the Republican Party as we know it. So it's all of it is just... And he does this, and he's been doing this now for 28 pages. Everything's a catastrophe. Everything's the biggest loss, the biggest, it's all this repetition, and all he's doing is hammering the same point home. It's an assault. It's down there on the page. Look, it's all part of a comprehensive assault on our democracy. And again, this is another little bit that if you're a student, yank out and use it to summarize the whole damn thing. That's what he said. Trump called it a comprehensive assault on our democracy and went on repeatedly but on rants about the media, big tech, and the Democrats and weak Republicans. And you summarized the first 20 pages of this speech. Yeah, now that's it. Go right, Your Honor, sir. And now we're finally standing up to say, no, the American people is back to that glorious republic. I did no advertising, I did nothing. But we've got such a massive crowd, remember? Our hundreds of thousands. I want to thank Amy and everybody. Who's that Amy? Just that Amy, yeah? Incredible supporters, incredible. This just happened. This is out of my control. I didn't cause this. You are powerful. Look at what you can do. Massive crowds. He's playing humble here. What are they here for? They're here for you. Yeah, they're all over the United States. You're not alone. Yeah, we're going to start. We've got to get rid of weak Congress people. Names, Liz Cheney, devil names. You only need one and you indicate it. I brought soldiers home, he says. They're in country nobody even knows the name. We'll teach them a fucking geography lesson then. They can't point to the country on a map. You shouldn't be invading it, arsehole. Yeah, they're dying. They're great, but they're dying. We love them. We thank them, but they're dying. Yeah, and he gets graphic, losing arms, legs, face. And again, this repetition, this groups of three. Yeah. And he says, I used to say, keep the oil. We didn't keep the oil. Stupid, these people. And all he's decided now that everything wrong with America, everything he thinks America has done wrong is part of this. This is his greatest hits. Iraq has billions in the bank. Does it? Really? Prove it. Where? Which bank, Donny? Come on, tell me. Which bank? Yeah? We get nothing. After our soldiers died, remember? Came home without arms and legs and faces. And all of this, it's the same again. We got rid of the ISIS caliphate. No, you didn't. I promise you didn't. Okay? And again, made in the USA. Even your hat's not made in the USA. But again, with the falsehoods, best equipment in the world. America the great, America the proud, America the brave. It's all this jingoistic patriotism that he was going on about at the start is leading back to it. Yeah? And then patriotism winds you up, and then he starts talking about lockboxes. Votes, again. You wound up because you're thinking, America, great, brilliant, America. How dare they come for us, these people who are killing our soldiers, and they start talking about boxes. It's designed to confuse you, to wind you up, to make you not know which way you're going, to not know where you're aimed at. Yeah? And duffel bags, where the hell did they come from? These questions, the way he does this, where the hell did they come from? It's meant to sound like he's surprised, he's shocked, he's appalled. And again, I can't believe this guy's a Republican. Yeah, he loves recording telephone conversations. I was in the wrong, but I'm going to make this guy in the wrong. because he knows his supporters have been hearing this over and over again. He loves recording telephone conversations. Yeah, he does, especially when they show what an arsehole you are. But he's going to skip over that bit. He's going to skip over that bit. People love that conversation because it says what's going on, but it never actually says what that conversation was about. Yeah, they're the most corrupt. He never actually says that he was the one asking for votes. And that's the point. He can twist anything to suit him in a speech like this. Stacey took them to lunch and I beat her. She took them to lunch. That's insinuation of corruption again. The old man's club, they took him to lunch and made a deal. Back office deals. Yeah, why won't they let us verify signatures? He asks this a lot. It's his rhetorical questions again. Why won't they? Why won't they? Well, you know why. It's because they rigged it. It's fraud, remember? We can't let this stuff happen. We won't have a country if it happens. He said that before, didn't he? We won't have a country. They're going to take down our country. 10 times lower than previous levels. All you hear is Georgia, 10 times lower than previous levels. And then you get this doozy down here, which I absolutely loved. Where was it? All this is just whinging on. And then you hear this. And this makes you laugh because it sticks out. Where was the comment? There's a comment he makes where he says, you sign your name as Santa Claus and it gets counted. And it was just, I remember that from reading it over once yesterday when I was half asleep. So, of course, other people are going to remember it. That's the point. He wants things you're going to remember. Yeah? Are you in citizenship? You're not allowed to ask. This is your dog whistle, your racist dog whistle. You're not allowed to ask. And he's bringing it back. You're not allowed to ask because they want to steal the election. The radical left. Yeah? Pence, I hope you're going to stand up. And if you're not, I'm going to be very disappointed in you. I'm going to wag my finger and be very disappointed in you, young man. I'm not hearing good stories. Yeah? And then again, a burst waterman, shit happens. Shit happens. But he decides it's got to be part of the conspiracy. It's the deep state. It's all there. Yeah? And record low. Approval ratings. And again, you're not even supposed to hear who this is. You're just supposed to conflate it with Biden and his ilk. You're not supposed to care. Talking about people who died but cast their votes. All these people died and their votes were cast. That's all your audience are hearing. Yeah? Far more. Each one. They got more illegal votes than we would have needed to win. And that's been disproven. It's in that link I dropped. The margin in Georgia was 11,779. But they had 66,000 under the legal voting age. Yeah? Arizona, again, all he's doing is taking each state and he's throwing numbers at it. And that's all he has to do. This one here, remember? If you signed your name as Santa Claus, it would go through. Why? Because signature verification machines were purposely lowered. So purposely, it's a conspiracy. And all he's doing is building a conspiracy here. And it's this repetition, these numbers. You're supposed to be bored out your mind listening to this. Hopefully, I'm managing to keep some of you awake. But I'm bored out my mind looking at this. And I mean, after 2 hours, I should hope so. Now, imagine if you actually had to sit down and fact check it. Like, hats off to the people at factcheck.org because, wow, I took one look at this and I was just like, nope, my brain just went, nope, don't want to do it. Not going it, not touching. And we would have won, but it's all fake, it's lies, it go on and on. A career employee, never naming names, testified under penalty of perjury. Well, mate, so did you, but that don't mean you told the truth. Yeah, but you can't accuse someone of not telling the truth under perjury. You can't do that. Oh, no. And again, every single one, and this is over and over. And I'm going to leave because he just goes on and he keeps going. It mentions Dominion voting systems. He names them. So he's clearly got beef with that company. I wonder if they wouldn't give him a loan or some shit. Because this is what he says, all the same system used in the states in our country. So if they were all used in all those states and Biden won in those states and there's a problem with the machines, then there's a problem with the result. And I get, it's just all this anecdotal, random quotes. Put it down for Biden. He wants to vote for Biden. We don't think Trump wants to vote for Trump. It's meant to be a secret ballot, and this is what it's getting at here. Everyone knows America. It's a secret ballot. People, and yeah, he's talking about people being pressured to vote, being followed into the polling booths, and all it's supposed to do is make you angry that anyone would dare do this during an election. And he goes on, and it's a disgrace again. Look, it's a disgrace. Tens of millions of people without so much as showing ID. Let me tell you something. In the UK, we don't need ID to vote. We walk into a room, we give our name and address, and we get a document, and we do it. We don't have voter fraud. We vote with a pencil, and we don't have voter fraud. So this, don't it sounds good, but it's bullshit. Yeah. Now, the thing is, with all of these things, all you have to do is take anything he's said here. So if I want to know, for example, I'll use one as an example. Yeah. Tens of millions of people vote without showing ID in America. Type that phrase into Google and you'll get pages and pages of immediately. I'll show you. Hang on. Because this is how you research a point, and I'll just do this one so you can see, because again, you've got the fact check list there. So let's see. Let's have a look. Voting without ID America. You don't even have to put the full sentence in. Yeah. And what you're gonna get. Here's what you get when you type that into Google. Okay. Oppose voter ID legislation. Voter identification law. Is America a democracy? Voter ID requirements. Yeah. Why it can be hard to vote. And the entire first page of Google will blow his comments out the water. But do you really think his audience are bothering to Google it? Of course they're not. They're just going to take what he says on given because he said it. And by this point, most of them aren't listening. They're too busy cheering. They're eating snacks. They're not paying attention. And so when you catch somebody in fraud, you're allowed to go by different rules. Now, this comment matters because he says you can't vote on fraud. So I hope Mike has the courage to do the right thing. This again, it's part of his call to arms from earlier. The Constitution doesn't allow it, but yes, it does, because you have to protect our country. He's putting his own reading to the Constitution and repeating it so often they're going to hear it as fact. Yeah, because fraud breaks up everything. Fraud means that we don't have to go through the legal avenues anymore. You're allowed to go by very different rules. That's another comment for the prosecution, if it pleases. And off we go. Now, this... ineligible to vote, you can check that. That can be checked anytime. It has been checked. And he knows it's been checked, but it sounds good. We won. We won in a landslide. This was a landslide. He was saying that right at the start of the speech. So again, now you've been bored for ages. You weren't listening, but you've heard something familiar that you heard before, so you switch back on. We won in a landslide. And again, it's getting near the end of his speech now, so he's going to do that. He's going to switch you back on because he wants you to hear the ending. All speech makers want you to hear the beginning, want you to hear the end, and the bit in the middle they're not all that fussy about, especially if they go on for this long. Yeah. It's not American to challenge an election, they said. They said he's back to his old rhetoric, his old tricks. You could go third world countries. Yeah. Hundreds of thousands of votes. Nobody would think this. It's so egregious. It's so bad. It's so egregious. And I've gotten to the point where words like that I hear in his voice because it's quite obviously he's been coached how to pronounce them. It's crazy, he's saying. Do you remember earlier? It was unbelievable. Now it's crazy. The language is getting stronger because we're getting to the end of the speech. It's a matter of national security. It's not just politics anymore. He's ramping up the ante now. The stakes are higher now. Sweeping electoral reforms before we have no country left. Not only is it important, it's urgent. And today is not the end. It's just the beginning. This is his call to arms here again. And we hear it time and time again. It's just the beginning. He's not done yet. He knows he's lost this election. He knows, but he's priming his audience to keep fighting. Over and over, he says. He admits, he says it over and over and never get challenged. And they challenge almost everything he says. We built the greatest political movement in our country. He doesn't get challenged because no one cares that he keeps calling it the greatest political movement. What does that even mean? What does great mean? I have this same beef with people who talk about Alexander the Great. Okay, what does it even mean? What does that word mean? The greatest? Is it the biggest? Is it the most powerful? Is it the most impactful? What does that mean? You can sit, and all that will do. The reason no one calls him out on that comment is because he'll just cause an argument about semantics and you won't get anywhere. That's why you don't call out people who talk about the greatest this and the greatest that, because it's a moot point. They're talking nonsense. It's empty words. Big donors, big media, big tech. They're all big, but we're going to fight them. It's our fight. We're the greatest. Yeah, all the way back to the Washington Monument. Now, we looked at those pictures earlier, so again, I'm not going to flog a dead horse. Yeah, and then again, I'm interested in right here, right now. After, and again, repeating his anecdotes, keeps going. Voter ID, voter ID, voter ID. Be a citizen, be a citizen. What's a citizen? What's a citizen? What's a citizen? Drop boxes, drop boxes, drop boxes. Mail-in ballot, voter fraud. That's all his audience are hearing right now. It's just buzzwords. Big tech, big tech, big tech. Gotta have courage, gotta have courage. Let's get rid of Section 230. Let's hold big tech accountable. Yeah. Tech monopolies, abuse of power, interfering in our elections. Republicans need to get tougher. Regulated, invested. These are all nice, pretty buzzwords. They mean sweet FA. They don't mean anything. He's not laying out a policy here. He's just gabbing. Yeah, they're totally breaking the law, he says. That's all he cares. It's a dirty business. It's a dirty business. It's repetition over and over. And all he's doing is saying everything he said right at the start, and he's just reminding you before he goes. That's all. Yeah, I think this is our all-time record. I think you have 250,000 people, 250,000. Yeah, so it's a nice round number. It's big. It's impressive. Amazing patriots for our glorious republic. Yep, I've never been more confident. He's calling for a fight. He's ready to lead. We've got to be careful. It's a nice statement, but we have to be a little careful with that statement. He's telling them, watch out. They're listening. Yeah. And again, all this illegal. Yeah, let them in. Now they want the wall down. There's your racism in again. There's your racism then. Who's a citizen? Who gets to vote? Remember the wall. It could never be done. It hasn't been done, mate. All this is lies. Just, again, it's just lies. Lies. But it sounds good to his audience because he promised them something and he's claiming he gave them it. And if he promised them once, he can promise them again and he'll do it. And then they said, brightest days before us, greatest achievement. Let's keep going. Go. This is now, he's wound them all up and he's getting ready to let them go now. Keys in and it's just about clicking on one of those old clockwork toys. And he's just nattering on a bit more while he does it. Yeah, and then we fight. We fight like hell. You're not going to have a country if we don't fight like hell. This is your call to arms. Again, Mr. Prosecutor, sir. This one right here. You see how much over this that I've just totally skipped because it didn't matter. And yet how much time I spent at the beginning. And the reason I spent all that time at the beginning is so I don't have to repeat myself now. Because all these things I'm pointing out, they're there. That's it. I'm wound up just reading this and I don't even support the guy. So of course they're wound up. We're going to walk. I love it. We're going to the Capitol and we're going to give we're going to give what? Give what? Nice sentence there for them to fill in on the road. Give what? Give them hell. That's what you were saying there. Give what? They're hopeless. Yeah, give the weak ones. The strong ones don't need our help, but we're going to give the weak ones. We're going to threaten them. We're going to take the weak ones and we're going to make them strong. We're going to force them. We're going to make them proud and bold to take back our country. And all that language I talked about at the start is in this at the end as well. So let's walk. Come with me, you and me. I want to thank you all. And then this, God bless you and God bless America. This is just traditional salutation, but on the back of all this, it emphasizes it all. It lends it gravitas because these people who are listening have heard that in 1,000 speeches. Every president has said it. It calls back. It gives the whole thing, everything Trump has said, it gives him validation. It legitimizes him because he's talking like a president. And then he thanks him. Yeah. That's the big long speech. Now, luckily, the other ones are nowhere near as long, so we can get through them in this one. Because this is the one he released midway through the attack when, everyone was screaming for him to do something. Now, this one matters. This one matters a lot. Because this one, you can't fully understand this one without understanding the one I've just spent 2.5 hours ranting on about. And if you've made it this far, thank you, because I've seen the watch count dropping and I can understand why. But thank you for sticking with me, because I am going to, when this is over, I'm going to go into the drop down and say, at 2.5 hours, we move on to speech 2 and then so on, because I appreciate not everyone wants to go through all that and listen to me raving on. But that gives you an idea. And all those things I pointed out, the language, the repetition, all that, you can see that in any political speech. It's in any political speech. And that's the point. I can draw those things out. I can say, Martin Luther King said, I have a dream. How many times did he say, I have a dream in that speech? That's why it's called the I have a dream speech. Which president was it? There was one president who liked Eisenhower and his fireside chats were nice and intimate because it was us versus them. That's what that was. Yeah, you can go even further back and you can talk about, Churchill and his no such declaration. He's taking and he creates an anecdote. He creates a story for his audience. Speechmakers all pull from the same tools. You can go even further back. You can go to ancient Rome, ancient Greece. They've been using the same tactics to get the same result when they make speeches since, before ancient Rome was even a thing. Back in ancient Greece, they were doing the same thing. And they were teaching people how to do this. There's books on it. You can find them. Very easy. Just type in, books on rhetoric, how to write a good speech. I did it earlier. And this is the point. Trump's speeches themselves, the content of them is garbage. The content of them is awful, it's racist, it's sanctimonious, it's repetitive, it's horrendous. And to anyone who's got any shred of common decency or common sense, you don't want to listen to it. But the problem is, the people who don't have common sense, who are likely to fall for these tactics, are the people listening. That's why he's got such a base. That's why these people were willing to commit a terrorist attack in his name. Because he wound them up and let them go. That's what he did. And it's right there in black and white, and you can see it. You can listen to me talking about this on everything I've done. Now, this next speech is very short, but it's just as important as the previous one. And the previous one gives you the context. No one should ever read this middle speech, this short one, without having read the previous one first, because it gives you all the context you need. So we're going to go back to the speech page, and it's all on one page, so no need for me to be scrolling up and down once I get it right. Okay, so now don't forget all of these. He knows the pain. He knows the hurt. They're you now. They're not we anymore, remember? But they are here, we. Do you remember the we from the other? Yep, it's this same. We had it stolen. I know you're hurt. I know your pain. We had it stolen. It's this intimacy. Intimacy, straight away. Intimacy. Yeah, there was a landslide and everyone knows it, especially the other side. So that's just a summary of his previous speech. See above. And then but you have to go home now. But you have to go home now. Please, we have to have peace. He's pleading. And if you listen to that speech, his language was very, very soft. And he sounded frightened when he said it. And it's deliberate. It's deliberate. It's to soften him up and make him seem like he's pleading with them. Because he doesn't want to be seen to be leading them now, because he knows they're in trouble. He's pleading with them. We have to have law and order. We have to respect our great people in law and order. He does respect them, but what Respecting the previous speech for law and order was standing up and not letting our democracy be stolen. Now it's let's go home, let's have peace. You see how the message changed, but the language stayed the same. And that's the point there. We don't want anybody hurt. And this again, trying to create the intimacy, it's a fair cop. Yeah, it's a very tough period of time. Yeah. Such a thing, again, with his insinuations, because he doesn't want to spend an hour talking, because he knows he's in trouble. There's probably someone twisting his arm. He's got 2 minutes and he wants to make the most of it. Yeah. From our country, this was a fraudulent election, and then this, back to your conspiracy. We can't play into the hands of these people. We can't play into the hand. They want us to do things that are illegal and bad. Don't fall for it. After he wound them up and let them go. And then we have to have peace, so go home, we love you. These short sentences, again, they're meant to, again, they're almost plosive, they're so short. It's supposed to sound like he's crying, like he's sad, like he's pleading and begging with big eyes. You know, he's a puppy and he wants a piece of your sandwich. Yeah. But don't forget, we love you. You're very special. This one matters because when we get to speech 3, which you'll all be aware of, you've seen what happens. You've seen it. You've seen the way others are treated that are so bad and evil. You've seen cops shooting black people in the streets, but black people are bad and evil and you're not, so go home. It's this dog whistle again. Yeah, I know how you feel. I'm still with you, but they're twisting my arm. Yeah, it's this silent plea. But go home and go home in peace. He's desperate. That's all this is. This is just a desperate plea. He's trying to survive. Someone's told him, call them off or we're going to arrest you, or something's happened there. That's what's happened in this speech. And his audience knows that too, because they didn't listen to him for an hour, whinging on and calling for war and calling for them to fight, just for him to then say, oh, go home in peace. They know that's not what he wants to say. And then this follows the following day. The unedited transcript of his remarks, which, you know, it wasn't edited. I'm about to scribble all over it. And at this point, I've got a couple more links for you. So what we've got here is one that really just sort of sums up everything there from MSNBC that I'm going to drop in. Why Trump's concession speech was literally unbelievable. This is the fact check of this last speech, which I totally agree with, and I did sort of on the day. You will have seen me on Twitter sharing my thoughts on that. This was not a concession speech. I don't care what anyone says. This was not a concession speech. I don't care if Twitter called it a concession speech. Yeah, Trump concedes. Ceded. Yeah. Not really, no. Didn't. Okay. Suddenly, these same people he loved, who, you know, he's outraged by the violence and lawlessness, but we love you. You're very special. Yeah, you see? These same people who we love, you're very special, who, what was it? Where was it? Yeah. We're going to try and give. We fight like hell. But yeah, this is heinous and destructive. It's a total change of tone. And it has to be, because again, he's probably been threatened. This lies, but it makes him sound good because it says immediately, and I did it. Yeah. Must always be law and order, law and order. Again, that's another repetition for this one, law and order. Who infiltrated. So these people, they're not his people anymore. They're not special anymore. They're not his people. They're not. He told them to give them hell, but now he's disavowing all knowledge of them. You're on your own. defiled the seat of American democracy. These are strong words. Strong words. Just like give them hell. Yeah? That's what's going on here. Acts of violence, destruction. But what's hell if not violence and destruction? You do not represent our country. Yes, you do. You spent an hour yesterday telling me that that's exactly what our country is. You broke the law, you will pay. Strong words again. Intense emotions. Yeah, there would be after an hour of listening to you, mate. Tempers must be cooled and calm. Again, you're nice. Binary opposition there. You're cool versus intense. You're high versus calm. It's all about... Someone wrote this speech for me. Didn't write this speech. Not all of it anyway. We must get on with the business of America. This is a nice American phrasing here. Patriotism. Yeah, vigorously. We vigorously pursued every legal avenue. We did everything we could legally. We did everything we could. So stop is the insinuation here. So stop. We must have law and order. So if we've done everything legal, you now need to stop. My only goal was ever the integrity of the vote. Yeah, but the integrity of the vote that you're talking about here is not the same integrity of the vote you were talking about yesterday. Yesterday, you were ready to fight like hell for the integrity of the vote. Now, yeah, now you're talking softly about reforming and this, but it's the same message. Don't be taken in by the soft words. It's the same message. Nothing's changed. But now Congress has certified the results. And he spoke quite slowly in this speech as well, a lot different to the way he spoke in the other one. And a new administration will be inaugurated. It's the first time he admitted it, and this is why people thought he'd conceded, because of this. But what does this sentence mean on its own? A new administration will be inaugurated on January 20th. Which administration? Who? How? It's very vague. He says, my focus now turns to ensuring a smooth and orderly, seamless transition. In the middle of a terrorist attack, he's talking about smooth, orderly, and seamless. After that speech the day before in which he called to give him hell and to defend the glorious republic, he wants a smooth, orderly, and seamless transition. After comparing the election to, quote, third world countries, now he wants it to be smooth, orderly, and seamless. Someone's got the proverbial gun to his head. This moment calls for healing and reconciliation. How do you fight like hell and then healing and reconciliation? Yeah. 2020 has been challenging, but healing and reconciliation, challenging time, but give them hell. Yeah. A menacing pandemic. You mean the one he called the China flu? That one. The China virus, yeah? Well, you're not so keen to call it that now, no? Not now you know that you're actually up on charges here. Yeah. Again, this is just... It's all about... He's blaming the pandemic for everything. He's trying to say, I understand you're stressed. You've been through a lot this year. Time to give over. He's giving them a ready-made excuse there. He's giving them the excuse of, okay, you've been locked up, you've had your fun, time to go home now. Yeah, we let the dog out, it barks for a bit, he's had his fun, so it can go home now. Yeah, and renewed emphasis. This one, this got me in a tizzy, did this. This. Patriotism, faith, charity, community, family. It's very Christian, this language. He's calling to his evangelical base. Yep. Again, sacred bonds, love and loyalty. national family. These are all very right-wing talking buzzwords, right-wing language, and it's designed that way. He's talking to his own people there, and he's saying, I'm still with you. All of this about we need peace and what have you, but we are one national family. This is us. Do you really think he's talking to black people, LGBT people when he says this? No. He's talking to his own people, and he's saying, this is us, our national family. Who's a citizen? Remember, you're not allowed to ask. That's what he said, but he's talking about his national family. And then he says to the citizens of our country, to the citizens of our country. Again, especially coming off the back of this, it's a pointed jab. It's been the honour, yeah, blah, blah, standard. And then to my wonderful supporters. But my wonderful supporters, hang on. Defiled the seat of American democracy, who do not represent our country, who broke the law. And now they're his wonderful supporters. You see how he changes the rhetoric, because the last thing they're going to hear is, you are wonderful. He's still with us. He's just not allowed to say it outright. I know you're disappointed. Understatement is the mother of rhetoric. When you understate something, you emphasize it. Disappointed is going home and crying and, having a comfort food. Disappointed isn't committing a terrorist attack. Yeah. And then again, you're disappointed, but I'm about to give you hope. Our journey is only just beginning. Now, where have I heard that before? Only just beginning, he says. Only just beginning. Yeah? It was all over the last speech, although not in those exact phrases, but it harkens back to that long speech. Fight of our life, keep going, there's more to come. And then his standard ending. So that last speech was not a concession. That was a chill out, let's not get caught up in it, because they're watching, they've caught us. And when they're watching and they've caught us, we have to step back, otherwise they're going to beat us to it. Do you remember when Trump first got elected and everyone was saying, take it easy, don't go up against every single thing, pick your battles? This is what he's telling his people here. Pick your battles. This one's over, but our incredible journey is only just beginning. That's what he was telling them here. Pick your battles. Battles are over. That's what that is. Now, I've gone on for 2 hours, 45 minutes for 3 exams, and I've basically just word vomited what I would have written in an essay about these 3. And a lot of it, repetition, I got wound up, het up. That's what these speeches are designed to do. And there's a reason I did this live. I did this live so you could hear in my voice how I'm reacting to these speeches. Because the way I was reacting is the way his audience are reacting. And it's designed to wind you up and get under your skin. That's what rhetoric is. You don't have to tell the truth. You just have to make your lies sound good. And that sounds really good. That sounds really good, does that? We're going to fight like hell for our glorious republic, and our incredible journey is only just beginning. But for now, we must have peace. This is why I say someone pulled him back, because he was ready to go hell for leather. But the thing is, and the truth is, Trump is a coward. Trump is an out-and-out coward. This speech there. Why is Trump a coward? This speech. Because if he wasn't a coward, he would have been in the Capitol building with them. And they know that. They absolutely know that. But they also know that he's the figurehead. He is their figurehead. And for as long as he is their figurehead, they will believe that there's someone in the background pulling his strings and trying to control him. And that's why it's so important to pay attention to these speeches, because for every time he calls for peace or unity or reconciliation, he's talking out the side of his mouth and talking about, but our journey's not over yet. Hang fire, pick your battles. That's what he's doing. For every time he claims, that's why it rings so false to those of us who are not his supporters, because we know it's false. And sometimes you just need to really look at the wording to find out why it feels false, and trust your gut instinct on a lot of these things. So a lot of these things, they're designed that way, but also learn to take a moment and assess your own feelings as well, because I reacted very strongly to those speeches. And I got angry, but I couldn't have told you why. But when I take a step back and I think, hold on, I've read this speech and I am angry. Why? And that's what you should always ask. This speech has made me feel this way. Why do I feel this way? And when you begin to question why the speech makes you feel this way, you begin to realize that it's designed to make you feel that way. It's designed to wind you up, no matter where you are on the political spectrum. And this, say what you want about Trump, as I said right at the start, and I'll say it again, his speech writers are brilliant and he gives a great delivery, a great performance. But that's all it is. It's a performance. And it's when you stop and look at these things, that's why it's so important to always read the transcripts. Yes, listen to the speech, but when you read the transcripts, when you've got time to sit down with pen and paper and scribble on it and write on it and just let your thoughts out the way I've done tonight, that's where you're going to start spotting things. You're going to pick out patterns. You're going to realize what stuck in your head and what didn't. And that's what you need to look at. What stuck in your head from those speeches is what they wanted to stick in your head. Then you have to understand from that why it's stuck in your head. And that's when you look at things like your repetition, your sounders of three, your starting one sentence with the same word as the last one ended with. It's all about playing with your mind. That's all speech making is. It's rhetoric. It's not an art, it's a science. For the most part, speech making is a science. Anyone can write a great speech. Not everyone can read a great speech. I will say that. Not everyone can read a great speech. Some great speeches in history sound really boring from the wrong mouth. But anyone can write a great speech. Clearly, Trump's got people who can do it. And he's created this persona around speeches like this. That's why everyone has such a visceral reaction to him. Because when you think of Donald Trump, you're not thinking of the man Donald Trump, the overweight, frumpy, floppy head git with two small hands. That's not what you're thinking of. You're thinking of his speeches and you're thinking, last time this man opened his mouth, I got mad, I got emotional, I got angry. But you're not stopping to question why. That's what I'm calling for everyone who's watched this stream or who comes across this stream to do. Stop and question why. Go through the speech. I don't care if you scribble and scroll on it like I've done. That's all you have to do, because it will open your eyes to what you're reacting to. And once you realize what you're reacting to, you then can start to build an argument against it. Because I know, for example, that I'm reacting to Trump and his numbers, and I think his numbers are doing my nutting. Always pay attention as well to the bits you didn't want to pay attention to the bits that bored you, because that's where the truth is. Always. They'll always bury the truth in a speech. Always. It's the greatest, it's the best joke budget speech in the UK, the Queen's speech in the UK. If you want to find out how much the price of a pint of beer or a packet of cigs is going to go up, wait until you're bored and then turn it back on. Because that's when it's going to come up. Because that's how it works. And you're not listening for anything else, because you're just listening for the bits you're interested in. And that as well. His audience are listening, and they're listening for these buzzwords. They're listening for constitutional integrity, voter integrity, ballot boxes, because they've been primed for it by his other speeches, by the news cycle, by Fox News and everything else. You can't take speeches in isolation. That's why I did all three of them and not just one. Because you can't take the middle one or the last one without the first one. But the first one is a behemoth. And that's the point. How many people will have heard the middle one or seen it go out on Twitter, heard the last one and gone, that doesn't sound too bad. It sounds like he's softening. It sounds like he's about to do the right thing. because they didn't bother listening to the rally speech, because why would they listen to a Trump rally speech if they don't support him? And then when it comes to the 16th, well, it's the 16th now where I am, but, you know, when it comes to the 18th, 19th, 20th, and security gets ramped up, they're going to be sitting and wondering why. I thought Trump backed down. I thought Trump conceded. But Trump didn't concede. And anyone who's read that first speech knows that. But you didn't read that first speech, so you don't know that. And with that, I'm going to end on that point. But before I do, those of you who know me know that my husband is One Ring 42. And yesterday he released a fantastic video and he analysed the Capitol attack on his channel. Go find it and go watch it, because give him a crystal ball. You know, he's right. Just as from these speeches, I can say this ain't over. That's all I can say as a historian. This is not over. There's going to be more to come. So, you know, when it does and there's more speeches, I might do a part 2. Who knows? But he could look at the events and he'll tell you more. And he's over there. He's in it, and he's trained as an analyst, so he knows these things. Go watch that. I'll drop the link in the description as well, along with all the other links I've been dropping in the comments as we've gone along. If anyone wants to talk about these speeches, if you've got questions, anything like that, I'm going to sit here for a minute now. If there's anyone there who wants to do it, I'm throwing it open for questions in the chat if you're there. And I'm just going to scroll through and see if I can find comments as I've gone along, because I did get a bit caught up and stopped checking the chat for a while. So while I'm doing that, let's have a look. Yes, so this one here. Grossly inflating demonstration numbers is something just about every political group has done. The media balances this out by grossly underestimating the numbers, and then you get the impression that's somewhere about right. Yeah. So he called the media out on something he knows the media does, and he knows the media are going to catch him out on. Let's see, are you a patriot? Nerdy asks. Well, are you? That, yeah, you pretty much sum up that first speech with that. Let's see. America has had enough of the cult on Trump. I'm going to presume that's a comment on him saying America has had enough of the Democrats. Yeah, but not his base, and that's the problem. They think they've had enough of the Democrats. Is it wrong to want to compare this speech with those made by dictators from history? No, it's not. I can think of several speeches that would be very well compared and contrasted with this, and you'd find much more grounds for comparison than contrast. You can look at speeches, as I said, you know, you all know me, I'm an ancient historian. You can look at speeches by Julius Caesar. Even famously, Carthago delenda est. A man ended every speech for 20 years with the words Carthago delenda est. Trump ended every other paragraph with the words, we must fight for the integrity of our constitution. There's an argument of comparison there. That's just off the top of my head, you know. So that's what that is. Yeah, again, there was the discussion about grammar where we have the grammar's designed to wind you up. You're not supposed to take it in. That's the point. It's supposed to be confusing to you. His wife takes it to a whole new level. Can she even spell grammar? Maggie, I don't know. I don't know if she can. I feel like if they printed the word on a cloth and wrapped it around her, it'd go around her twice. So who knows? And again, Scummer, I have pollsters. Nobody knows polls like I do. Again, it's this repetition. Trump's very good at that. He likes doing that. And it's become a trope of his language style, quite clearly. How do numbers work, Nerdy? Not in the way Trump thinks they do. Go read that link I dropped if you want more of that. I doubt Trump can get his head around a TV remote. Again, with the technology, the man's in his 70s. I'd be surprised if he could as well, to be honest. He's making his support base genuinely fear technology, because technology is where they're going to find the answers. You saw how many times I went to Google through this. You know, he's honest, and as Maggie said, he's a genius. You could hear the sarcasm dripping. Don't worry, I'm not going to think you meant it seriously. That's it. He wants everyone to think I'm clever, I'm a genius. I know people who tell me things and they know the truth, and this is the truth, and you don't have to listen to anyone else but me. Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, okay. So as Maggie put, Trump and his shithole countries, yes, you were in one where no one was trying to kill you, as opposed to America, where I'd be worried about you walking down the street. And don't forget, Trump called Rudy brave, clever, great Rudy, cowarded out of courthouses and refused to say he found fraud, plus Trump refusing to pay him his fees. But he's great, And again, this is the lies. Let's see. Yes, a lot of these words did sound like a threat. Yes, nerdy. There is an argument for comparison between this and a lot of the lies around Brexit on both sides of the argument there. Not Michael. Mike denotes friendship. You're right, DOG. It was Mike Pence when he was being formal, because everyone knows him as Mike Pence. He's not known as a Michael, but he was just Mike when Trump went to have a word with him. It's creating that false intimacy. Yeah. He never showed any racism either by using phrases like China virus. He didn't have to. It's a dog whistle. The entire point is that it's not objectively racist, or it could be argued not to be. And as Scum has said, Kung Flu was his favourite remark, which again, much more obviously racist, which is probably why he didn't stick with it. Several Chinese people attacked at the start of the pandemic in the UK. You're right. Nobody's going to tell you those terms aren't harmful, because they absolutely are, and that's the point. He's calling his people and he's saying, we're in the in crowd. We call it the China virus because we know where it came from and we know the truth. And it's this conspiracy theory again. People love to have their conspiracy theories validated, and that's all he's done here. It's not only the Democrats that want him prosecuted, it's the world, exactly, but he's claiming the world is on his side. More people, if I'm right, Mike is right. If more people are on my side, I must be right. We can't all be wrong. Let's see. Supporters are not exactly known for due diligence when it comes to fact-checking. This is why they're never asking for a citation on any of his claims, which is why none of his claims are citable, because that's why he always goes so vague, because that's all he has to do. He just has to make it sound good. Also, Jeff, while I'm scrolling through, I've noticed you have been shilling for me. I very much appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, DOG, he wasn't talking to America as a whole. He was talking to his neo-national family when he was talking about this great American family there. Scummer, I think you've really got to it there. You said he's totally a demagogue. Absolutely. I can't agree more. Doesn't seem like there's been any questions. I'll give it a second more in case anyone's still typing, but I doubt it. Thank you to anyone who's been donating to my Ko-fi through this. I very much appreciate it. I know DOG did, so thank you. And thank you, Scummer, for dropping the link to Ring's video in the chat. Do go and have a look there, folks. And I am going to sign off now because I've been talking for nearly 3 hours and my throat hurts. My throat hurts. I'm sorry, but it does. I've drunk like 2 pints through this when you've not been seeing me on screen. So I've talked a lot. I've chewed your ear off. I've done just as much as Trump did, but hopefully I've actually, given you something to think about rather than something to ignore and pretend and just pick buzzwords from. Do go back and watch bits of this if you need to. I don't expect everyone to have taken it in first time. Go back and look at the speeches yourself. See what you can pull out. See if anything jumps out at you. What made you sit up and listen? And do take these things and apply them to other speeches as well. It's going to be important, especially in the coming days, that we keep on top of these messages. And don't just apply these things that I've done tonight to speeches that you don't like and politicians that you don't like. Apply them to the politicians that you support as well. Call your politicians out. Keep them accountable. Don't let them get away with sending dog whistles and secret messages out using the media, because that's essentially what they're doing. It's not a conspiracy, it's just rhetoric, but that's what it boils down to. Keep them accountable, keep them there. And as I said right at the start, as you will have noticed, because I have rebranded my channel, take care, be good, and if you can't be good, use your noodle. Laters.